guys, welcome to another episode of Nexus Insights. This is a podcast where we are focused on having authentic conversations with interesting people. I'm incredibly excited for our guest today, one of my great friends, Mr. Zach Gratton. Zach, thank you for being here. I think it's going to be a great conversation. I don't know where it's going to go. It could be the most professional business conversation, or we could end up talking about some crazy stuff that gets us canceled. So
I guarantee you we're going to do both.
Yeah, I'm just thinking before I go into your intro about the last time when we were at the baseball game that Lambros did, and we were both a few beers deep, and you were like, you were doing the first pitch, remember?
Yeah, I did the first pitch.
You're like, I'm going to go out there and I'm going to talk about this and this. And Pat, what do you think about this? Like, Zach, please no. That was pretty funny.
Perfect media to give my political agenda.
Yeah, that's
like,
exactly
no,
it. Please don't. Not in front of the whole city.
Yes.
Let's not do that. But Zach, thank you for being here. I want to just give everyone an intro to who Zach is. You're going to get to know him as we're talking. But Zach Gratton is a Missoula real estate agent, connector, excavator, and former bartender who somehow turned knowing everyone in town into a full-time career. Originally from Billings, he came to Missoula to play football at the University of Montana and never found a good enough reason to leave. He cut his teeth behind the bar at Missoula Club and the Mar Bar where he built the relationships that still drive his business today. Now as a co-founder of the Gratton Funston Group at ERA Lambros, he's built a reputation as one of the top agents in the area by keeping things simple, working hard, being honest, and taking care of people. When he's not working, he's doing what most people move here for, which is spending time on the river, in the mountains, and around town, enjoying everything Missoula has to offer. So, Zach Gratton, thank you so much.
Happy to be here, man.
Dude, it's going to be fun.
Yeah.
So, me and you, Zach, we've known each other for a minute, but before we just hop into stuff, we have to kick it off the way that I've really been enjoying, and that's with the big question. And I've found that this is such an easy way to get to know who someone is, and to just kind of, skip past the like, well, tell us about your childhood and tell us about this. And I think that just like we were talking about off camera, as if people got to know who you were, I think they'd really love working with you. They'd love to, know who you are as a person and just be your friend. But like, tell us if you had one message that you could share with the whole world that has positively impacted you and the person you are, whether that's on a personal level, business level, whatever it is. But if you had one message you could share and somehow the whole world was magically going to hear this one message, what would you tell people out there?
Yeah, first of all, love this question. I think it's perfect. When you mentioned it, I thought about it for quite some time. I think it's a great jumping off point. My answer to that question is relationships and reputation. I would challenge everyone to cultivate every single relationship that you have, take care of it, put the time in, the effort in, and couple that with a good reputation, because that's going to lead to more relationships. I don't think anyone has gotten to where they want to be by themselves. I think if you have relationships that you can lean on, you can't do everything. And I mean, me and my business partner, we joke with, and bartending kind of opened this up to me. We know 80% of this town. It's big enough that there's opportunity everywhere. It's small enough that your reputation is everything. Mm-hmm. And that's why I love it. But we always joke, we got a guy. Like, you were asking for an office chair and you didn't want to go online. I got a guy at Office City. Like, we have clients. Just last year, we had this old couple, sold them a house years ago, reaches out of the blue. Do you know anyone that can tune a piano? Yep. We know a guy from bartending at the Mo Club who tunes pianos. And she's like, holy cow, you do know everyone. And I just think connecting people with other people, that makes your reputation go up. And then people look to you as a source of information or a genuine person that cares. And I just think that's how you get successful in this world, is not by stepping on other people or taking the shortcut, is playing the long game and just genuinely having a good relationship with as many people as you possibly can.
And, and I feel like as we've gotten to know each other over the years, and I remember this was a couple of years ago when we were talking, where we were just updating some stuff with your accounts, and it came up that you were on a board of a charity even. And I'm not sure if you're still on that board but like, and I just, with what you're saying, like, as someone who's gotten to know you over the years, it's funny because I can't tell you how many times like Katie and I have just talked about like if Zach, there was one specific situation where this is years ago. I think it was even before you got into real estate, where there was someone that was looking at a listing that my wife Katie had, and she was like, I don't know, something feels off with this guy. And then we just saw that you knew him just through Facebook or something. I was like, let me call Zach.
Yeah.
And I called you, and I remember you were like, kind of like, just being polite about it. Like, I don't know, man, you know, blah, blah. And I was like, no, I don't know this guy from Adam. And you're like, no, F that guy.
Yeah.
I was like, if Zach Gratton is saying this about someone, it's like, dude, that guy, we were done. And we literally stopped. We were like, we're not working with this guy, you know, but it is because of exactly what you're talking about. And I've just always felt like you have been the type of person and are the type of person that like are just a genuinely good person who's trying to help others out. And so, you know, where did that come from? Like, how did you learn that? And how did you become that way?
Yeah, good question. I don't know. I guess from a young age, I was always kind of the class clown, but school came easy to me, which I started, I guess, realizing that going back to the relationships thing and reputation in school, you know, I had a lot of fun. I was always like I said, class clown, but my grades were always good. And, you know, asking the teachers how their day was, and, you know, taking interest in them and building that relationship. I always joke like it was the emotional bank account, and you always want to be putting deposits in. And then every once in a while you got to take a withdrawal, but you can't just, you know, ask for the world from day one. So building that reputation, hey, you know, Zach, he's crazy and he's always joking around, but he gets his work done. He's, you know, not disruptive, but I don't know. I guess that's kind of a weird answer to that, but started just realizing like politicking and playing the game of, you know, I'm not a bad guy. I don't think I'm not mean. I was never a bully, but I don't know.
Well, I think it's interesting too, because you always hear the quote of like, oh, you got to do what you got to do and not care what other people think, which I think can be true to an extent, because like you said, your reputation matters so much. But as long as you know that you're being a good person, you have to do things that maybe are uncomfortable, like starting a podcast. I'm sure there's people that are going to be like, oh, it's silly or dumb. Like, we don't care.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's like, you also know for a fact that you treat your clients well and you treat other people well. And so if other people are like, oh, Zach's kind of weird, like, I don't know, his jokes just don't land. You're going to have other people, because you've built so many connections, stand up for you and be like, don't talk about that. But it's also because you stand on what you believe in. You're not just like, oh, I care too much about what people think to where I'm going to not necessarily roll over and agree with what they say, but you, like you said, you demand respect, but also are a kind person. Yeah.
I think that, you hit the nail on the head. I think just by being genuine and authentic to people, I mean, I make fun of myself more than anything. And it kind of just breaks down that barrier. I'm not trying to be something I'm not. I always joke I'm kind of a douchebag of I like the spotlight. I love this podcast, and I feel like I'm on Joe Rogan right now, but it's
not quite putting up those numbers yet.
But it's going to get there.
Yeah.
But just being genuine and being kind of raw with people. I think everyone is always worried about how they're perceived and what they think. And I think, to me, that's the definition of cool, is just being your actual self. You can tell when people are trying to be cool, but I think by being yourself is the coolest thing you can be.
It's also, and with what you're saying there, you know, just as you're saying it, I think maybe that's one of the reasons we've always gotten along really well. Like, I feel like from when we first met, I remember when we met, I think it was at City Brew, right?
Yeah.
That's when you started.
That was your satellite office.
Dude, that was before I had anything going on, you know, and, but it's very easy to just, when someone's being genuine, it's easy to see like who they really are as a person. And I think that that's something that made it easy for us to connect, because I try and be the same way. Like, I genuinely do not care what people think about me. It doesn't bother me. Like, I'm very comfortable with who I am. Like, Josie gives me a hard time sometimes because like I'll do my self-talk out loud and like.
Oh, I don't give you a hard time. I just laugh because you walk around the office. You're like, everything works out for me, and I'm just like,
Hell
I'm
yeah.
the man.
Yeah, everything works out for me. Oh, I'm always.
I think it's positive.
Yeah.
I think it's good.
Yeah, but it is. I'm like, but I do. It's like everything's going to work out for me but I also know like just what you said, like treating people well. Like something I've always seen you do as well that I think is very rare. You treat everyone like they have value. And that is such a big thing that in today's day and age, people are so quick to like view other people like they don't matter as much, their time's not as important, or this person's below me or above me and I got to politic to them. And I've never seen that with you, man. When we're out, Zach Gratton is Zach Gratton to everyone. And I think that is like such an admirable trait because it's very easy to like chase after being what you think people want you to be. And I've just never seen that, So tell us about like, let's go into what was Zach like as a kid. You were talking about like growing up and what I'm just curious, man. So like what was Zach like in elementary school, then growing up as you got into being teenage years and I'd love to hear about how you started playing football because I know that was a huge part of who you are and what you've done. And we had Tyler Hobbs on just pretty recently. And so you came up there and we were just talking about, for him, like how football became part of his life. But I know it's like, it's just kind of part of who you've been or who you are and who you've become. So like, what were you like as an elementary school kid and then going into becoming a teenager?
Yeah. So the origin story, I was a Billings rat, grew up on the east side, proud to be from Billings, but don't want to go back. But yeah, grew up, great childhood. Parents got divorced when I was 6, amicable divorce. They always had a good relationship. It was funny because then my mom married Frank, who I call Frankie, who now everyone calls him Frankie, and he's the least Frankie guy. He's a Texas oil man, dressed to the nines, just has never done anything wrong. And it was Frankie. And growing up, the dichotomy between my dad's house and my mom's house with Frankie, it was funny. I was talking to my mom this morning about it we didn't have bedtimes at Pops's. We never turned the stove on. We grew up on Hot Pockets and taquitos. It was all microwave food. I remember drinking Mountain Dew like in my bed at midnight. Like just
let's go. Man.
Yeah, just like dad's house rules. And then going to mom and Frankie's house and it was like chores, Bible, yes sir, yes ma'am. And growing up, I always like resisted Frankie because as a kid, dad's house was way more fun. We can play video games till midnight and we don't care. And dad was a great dad, but I always say, and I'll probably mention Frankie and Pops a lot in this podcast, but my dad, I look like him, I act like him. I love being Gratty's son, especially in this town. He played football too. He's a great attorney in town. But Pops taught me how to be who I am. He's the gregarious, the guy you want to hang out at a party with, kind of just to live life. And Frankie taught me how to be a man, and no discredit to Pops, but Frankie, taught me how to shake hands. Yes or no, ma'am. Look someone in the eye, do a job interview, taught me how to drive, balance a checkbook.
I feel like this is rich dad, poor dad.
It truly, and Pops, I love him to death. He's the man. He's still like a 21-year-old. But Frankie, as I got older in life, I realized what a blessing Frankie was, not only to me, but my brother and my mom. Took care of us and just taught us how a man should be, how you treat women, just be a provider. Even our allowance growing up at Frankie's house, every kid had their chores and they got $6 a week. But then 2 of it had to go to savings. 1 of it went to church. So he's kind of teaching you about taxes at 7 years old of I made 6, but only got 3. And he even did this thing for Christmas one year. He gave us all $1,000 in a brokerage account. And he was like, I'm going to give you 1 year. Whatever you make, you can keep. And just give me my 1,000 back. And I've talked to him about that a couple years ago, and he was like, yeah, I think I did that a little too early. I was probably 10, and then he had 2 kids, Ben, who's my brother's age, 3 years older, and then Ellie, who's 5 years older than me. And so he was like, I think it was just a little too young. And now thinking, I'm like, I only gambled like 500 of it. I'm like, I should have put all of it on something. But I remember I bought Schlumberger, and because he was teaching me about dividends and all that, and it was an oil stock, so he knew that. But it was funny, we were all talking about it at Thanksgiving, and I remember my brother bought Costco stock when it was nothing. And he was like, we did the math that if he would have just held on to it, because we all sold it. We're like, whoa, we made $200. Like, this is awesome to a kid. He was like, I'd have like $500,000. It was just crazy because it's split and everything. But that was the type of guy Frankie was. And it's cool, in my old age, I call Frankie all the time. He was very successful in oil. But it was interesting, growing up, he wasn't. I love telling Frankie's story. He was a Texan. He studied under like Lamar Hunt. He was like his kind of right-hand guy, note taker, kind of henchman. But he left Texas in like the 80s when Texas was having the boom, and all his buddies were giving him shit like, dude, all the oil's in Texas. And he was like, I got a feeling about this Bakken oil shale in North Dakota. And Frankie's a landman, so he just buys leases, and then he'll sell them to a big company, and then he'll have a small interest in the production. And he has this map in his office of the Montana-North Dakota border in like 1995 and then 2005. And there's like a couple dots in the 1995 one of wells. And then in 2005, you can't even see. Like, it's just blown up. But growing up, I mean, he said, he was like, we were, scraping together every penny we could. We'd drive. We had one car, 4 kids. We'd drive to Texas for a summer vacation in August. And we always joke, like, was I rat clothes? Like, we're going to Texas in August. I remember we like driving, and the AC wouldn't work when you were going uphill. So like we had the windows down, and we're going off topic, but I love Frankie. When we'd be like fighting with the siblings, he'd just kick us out and drive on the shoulder, and we'd run for like a mile. And I was the young run, and I was always the guy that was in trouble with somebody. My other siblings were great people. But yeah, just that stuff, or like fighting over a Happy Meal toy, and he's like, can I see it? And then just chuck it out the window.
Let's go.
And he's like, cool, now we're not fighting over it.
Let's go.
But, and yeah, like as a kid, it was like, dang, Frankie's kind of a dick, But I've since, in my older life now in business, like I call Frankie, he's a deal guy, and he wants me to be successful, and he loves me so much. Like, they should write a book on blended families. Like, my mom would kiss and hug Ben and Ellie just like she would her own kids, where my dad remarried his second wife, and it was just like 2 families living in one house. Like, she'd be like, Scott, you worry about your kids, I'll worry about mine. And it was just a very negative connotation that I had on marriage. But then Frank and Mom were so good at giving an example of what a home should be. Anyways, there's enough for Frankie. Started playing football, come from a football family. My dad, he played for the Grizz in the 80s. My brother was a freak athlete. He was way better than me.
He's older, you said?
Yeah, he's 3 years older. He went to Montana in high school, and it was cool. Played varsity as a freshman, and kind of started getting the recruiting going, doing camps and stuff. But I always wanted to play for the Grizz. Like, if you're a kid in Montana, you want to play for the Grizz. We don't have big colleges or pro teams or anything.
We're D1.
Yeah, I mean,
it's pretty good.
Exactly. And so it was cool. Got recruited. I remember I went on my recruiting visit here. It was a Bobcat Grizz game. It was my senior year, and my brother was already playing, so it was cool. Like, I would have had 2 years with him because he redshirted. It was just kind of the Gratton family tradition. And go through the whole recruiting thing, and at the end, they're like, we want to give you a preferred walk-on, which is like, you're on the team, but we're not going to pay you. And it really pissed me off. I thought they kind of knew they didn't have to dangle a carrot because they wanted me to go there. And I remember calling my high school coach, because I was kind of very dismissive of other schools that were recruiting me. All the NAIA schools Colorado for some reason, but I think they found out I was like a white safety when I got there. But I went there for a camp, and I crushed that camp, but the letters stopped after that. But I remember I called my coach, and I'm like, tell everyone I'm open for business. Like, it's kind of bullshit. And he's like, would you have gone to the Cats? And I was like, I don't know, maybe. At least use it for leverage. And he's like, shit, they wanted to offer you like a very good scholarship. And I told him, don't even bother, because he's a Gratton and he's a Grizz. I'm like, dang, bro, you kind of like screwed me over there. Anyways, they got wind of that. They ended up giving me like a partial scholarship. I was like, that's good enough. Played my freshman year, I redshirted, blew both my shoulders out that year. And it was pretty crazy. I guess I could say it now because of statute of limitations. I'm pretty sure my shoulders were already like torn up from wrestled all my life, and football. But I convinced them that they were from that year. So it was brutal. Like, it was both labrums and like some AC stuff. And you had to sit in a cast that was like this big styrofoam thing just stuck for 6 weeks. And then after that, I got the other one done. And I remember sitting in the dorms taking a poop, and I was like, I've never wiped my ass with my left hand. So I always joke that it didn't get any action from the girls because I had poop up my back the whole time.
God.
But anyways, that kind of set me back because I didn't get the surgery till like the end of the season. And so then I missed spring ball going into that, winter condo. Coach got fired, got new coaches, was kind of behind the 8 ball. And then it was interesting in college football. I have a very negative view of college football, at least from my perspective, because I wasn't that good at it. It's crazy when you go from being the man in high school, playing both ways, never leave the field, to you're just a number. Everyone was all-state. Everyone was the man on their field. And that level of competition, it's got to be cool for a guy like Tyler Hobbs, who was like a stalwart, like flagship player for the Grizz. Me, I was cannon fodder. I just wanted to see the field. I played special teams. It's weird because I always say this. I did everything and more that they asked at the start of my career. Showed up early, stayed late, did the extra film, extra workouts, and it didn't work. And I think it was a huge life lesson of sometimes you can do everything you possibly can and luck's not on your side, or it just didn't work out.
Something's not meant for you. It's just not meant for you.
Exactly. And I think it was a huge... So then I'm kind of in the mix. I'm on the travel. I'm playing special teams. I'm just not getting any traction. And then the next year, my safeties coach leaves for another job. So then I have 3 different coaches for 3 years. And the politics of when a new coach comes in, they want to win with their guys, the guys they recruited. So it was very frustrating of seeing, you get graded every practice, every play, a 4, 3, 2, 1. And I'm like, dude, my play average is higher than the second string guy, but I'm 4th string. What's going on? And he was like, well, we're just worried about, what you would do in a whole game. And I'm like, well, give me more reps then.
What's in a what game?
Like a whole game.
Okay.
Because I was 4th string, so it's like I'm only getting probably 10 reps of practice, doing well on those. But sometimes you don't get the ball thrown your way, and you're just running around. They're like, yeah, you did everything we wanted you to. Anyways, I think, and then it was a good life lesson too. I remember there was 2 guys got busted at a party. One guy was on full ride. One guy was a walk-on, and they both got MIPs. They kicked the walk-on off the team. The full ride guy got to stay. And I remember talking to my coach. I'm like, well, that's pretty messed up. Like, they both did the same thing. And he was like, I'm going to teach you a life lesson, Zach. It's all risk versus production. This walk-on guy had a thin line. He wasn't really contributing to the team. We have a full ride scholarship, money invested in this kid. He is a better player. We're going to get it. And I'm not saying it's right, but it teaches you the cruel reality of the world of if you produce, you get a lot. And it kind of goes back to my teaching thing. Like, if you are producing, you're going to have more leeway.
Well, and Robert always talks about adding more value than you're taking, just in life in general.
Exactly.
You always have to be adding more value than you're taking. And with your bank, like
Yeah,
you're
the
investing, you're
emotional
investing,
bank
you're
account.
investing.
Yep.
But you got to withdraw sometimes, but you got to make sure you have enough in there to make those withdrawals.
Exactly.
I think too, like with what you're saying, that a lot of people miss, like, I talk to Lincoln about this all the time. I'm like, life's not fair, bro. Like,
Yeah.
it sucks.
Sometimes you get
it
screwed.
sucks. Yeah. And I remember again, and I think we've talked about this before, but my daughter, this was years ago. She was probably in like 6th or 7th grade. Maybe, she was young. And this was kind of when like all the woke crap was like super, super woke. Like, God bless America. Believe what you want to believe. All right. I don't care. But like, don't try and put it on my kids, you know?
Exactly.
And she was doing something where at her school, they were talking about, privilege. And so she was doing this thing. And it's funny because like I'm half Mexican, a quarter black, and a quarter like Eastern Slavic European. All right, there's nothing. That's
a mutt.
And I get this whole I have white privilege, but people from time to time, I'm like in Montana, like what are you talking about here? All right, whatever.
Yeah.
But then my kids, my ex-wife is like super white, and then I've remarried, and my wife Katie is very white. So both my kids look white,
Yeah.
And so my daughter was doing this book report, and she was doing it on I don't know this person at all, but it's like a ballerina who was a black ballerina, and I guess had a story where she overcame stuff, blah blah, and good for her, and it all worked out. But my daughter said something again as like a young person. She was like, well, yeah, it must have been a lot harder for her because she was black. And I was like, what do you mean? And she's like, well, she just didn't have the same opportunities and privileges that other people would have. I'm like, wait, where are we hearing this from? And I know this is going to piss some people off. I don't care. Don't watch the podcast. All right. But I remember I was like, okay, we're going to do a lesson right now because let's talk about privilege. Who has more privilege right now, you or President Obama's children who are both black? Who has more privilege?
Exactly.
Who has more opportunities right now? And again, and I was like, and she just like, even in her young age, was like, well, they do, obviously. I was like, exactly. It has nothing to do with skin color. It has everything to do with your family, where you're raised, how that works. And I was like, and guess what? It's not always fair.
Yeah.
But does that mean that you can't go out and do this and be this type of person? Of course not. And I had another guy that I went to high school with, and this was again back in like the super woke days of Facebook, and COVID was kicking off and all that crazy stuff. And this guy David, and he was talking about like again, all the like, it's insulting to me because as someone who's a person of color, I don't identify that.
Yeah.
I'm an American. Like on Lincoln's birth certificate, it asked father as an ethnicity, and I wrote in all capitals, American.
Hell yeah, love that.
But like, yeah, so he was talking about this, and like the whole thing of like the bar of low expectations, that because of someone's skin color they can't figure something out. I hate that because like again, that it's basically saying like people like who are darker pigment are just dumb. I don't agree with that. And so he was going off on something about how it wasn't fair that something was happening to people and how life wasn't fair. And so I knew this guy personally. So I reached out to him. I was like, man, let me ask you a question because I don't agree with you. I was like, but let's just assume you're right. Let's just assume that's the way it works. What should I tell my kids?
Yeah.
Should I tell them, hey, it's never going to work out for you?
Just give up.
Yeah, just give up because the skin color, it's just always going to be hard. Should I tell them that? Or should I tell them like, hey, maybe that is the way the world works, but this is still America. There's still opportunity. There's people making it. And I was like, David, if it was your kids, what would you tell them? He's like, because David's a like white guy, right? He's like, I guess I tell them that they should still go for it. I was like, exactly. So what does it matter then? Like, let's just, who cares? And so like, yeah, the whole expectations thing and what you were talking about with like, just if you're performing, you get away with more sometimes.
It's like everyone has a different starting line, but it's not that one is farther behind than the other. I think you just have to know where your strengths and weaknesses are and not put yourself in a position to get into a bad situation. And so for a guy, like I could probably be alone in a room with a girl, no cameras, and nothing would happen. But for a guy, that you're putting yourself in a bad position to a certain extent. This is just a hypothetical scenario. Or with somebody of color, like don't put yourself in bad positions when you know like certain things about the world, but it doesn't mean that you can't do certain things either.
Yeah, totally. And I always hate when they'll be like, first black coach or first black astronaut.
Yeah.
It's like,
and it doesn't make it
no,
okay.
You're an astronaut. You're minimizing their accomplishments of, oh, that's so great. Like, look at them. It's like, no, that's very impressive that they're an astronaut.
Yeah.
I don't care. Are they a good astronaut? Are they a good football coach? Are they a good financial guy? That's what I care about.
And it's like, it just goes back to like the world it's just not fair at the end of the day. Like, I'm not going to go into a bar by myself, get super, super hammered. And then, like, of course, if something bad happens, that's not okay. That's completely on somebody else. But at the same time, if you know your strengths and weaknesses, don't put yourself in those positions. That's something that Robert can probably do.
But we love everyone.
No, that's not bad. I didn't even mention Ricky.
She was asking for it. Look what she was wearing.
Exactly. I'm like, yeah.
Oh, God. We're getting
just
canceled.
don't get drunk. You'll get robbed.
You're the one with 4 buttons down.
Oh, gosh.
Shit, it's two.
But yeah, like what you were saying too with the whole blended family, I understand a lot because I have a similar situation.
Yeah.
My dad, super close to him, always a great father, definitely more structured than it sounded like. He was very like, hey, this is the way. And he showed me a lot about what it is to be a man. And but my stepdad, same story. Always treated me like his own son.
Yep.
And that was a big thing. I never realized how big that was until I was an adult with my own children. And it's something that I really respect about him for that, because like, it's very easy, and you see a lot of it where people kind of go the other route, like you were talking about. It's like your family versus my family.
Exactly. And it never works.
No.
And, I mean, just finishing the football chapter, one, going back to kind of what we just chatted about, that's what's cool about football is it is an equal playing field of if you produce, you're good. Nobody cares if you're black, white, Mexican, whatever. And it was really cool meeting these people. A white kid from Billings playing defensive back in a D1 college. Like, I was kind of the only white guy in my pod. The way the locker room was, it was like different pods, and a bunch of brothers from Phoenix, Arizona, LA, back east, Dallas, and realizing that we aren't all that different. Mm-hmm. We're breaking up with girlfriends. We're trying to figure out, we got issues at home with mom, and it was a very good personification of America, example of America, of just like, we have a common goal. We all want to be our best, but we need each other. And some of those guys, it's so great. Like, you still keep in touch with them, and now they're doing great things. I mean, it is crazy how successful people, being in like a collegiate sport, you see that they have that drive to do whatever it takes. But anyways, finishing up that. So yeah, third coach, I've got a bunch of concussions. I mean, I was a small, not that fast safety. I'd put my nose on anything. I was a hitter, but wasn't that good. And that was the only thing I could do, is just lead with my head and try to knock somebody out. And going in, I've got a really bad concussion my junior year. And I remember like couldn't even play, and I would like wake up and then re-wake up like crumpled up in the bathroom. Like, I'd wake up and then pass out. It was really bad, and I fell into this big depression because I put so much pressure on myself of like, I had this dream of going to the Grizz and running out of the tunnel and being the man, and it didn't work. And I was really struggling with that, and some of my good friends kind of on the team kind of distanced themselves from me because I was not as committed anymore. I started realizing the writing on the wall of like, this is like tearing my life apart. I had high blood pressure at 21. I was struggling with the concussions, depression. Gave me a lot of respect for depression. I always, growing up, was like, just look at the bright side, And what I realized was, when you're in that state, it's like, yeah, look at the bright side. You got a great family. Like, you're still playing college football, and like, you have people that love you. But then I was still sad. So then that would make you feel even worse of like, I do have a good life, but I'm sad. And luckily, like, I was really struggling. The coach called me into his office, and he's like, hey, you have 9 confirmed concussions, which Oof. I probably had way more. That was just the ones that they analyzed me on. He was like, but your GPA is so high, we want to keep you on the team to boost the overall team GPA. So we'll honor your scholarship, but you can't play football.
Wow.
And it was a blessing and a curse of, this was the out I kind of wanted, because kind of towards the end, my only motivation was, I don't want to be a quitter. I don't want to be a guy that didn't finish it. So I got kind of an honorable discharge. And then that's when my life really changed, because I was Zach Gratton, the football player, like all through middle school, high school, college. Just did those things, wore athletic shorts and football shirts, and, was just, my worldview was so small because all I cared about was football. now it was like, Zach, what do you want to be known as? Because that didn't work out. You're not there. No one gives a crap now. So I got into river surfing, started working at a surf shop here in Missoula, started bartending at the Mo Club. It's where I met Chris Funston, my business partner, who's my best friend. Couldn't have anything in my life without that guy. I love him to death. I really just started like grabbing life by the balls. And I was like, wow, because college football is a grind. Like everyone sees Saturday. They don't see February at 4 a.m. doing winter condo, fall camp in August. I mean, you get 2 weeks off a year. So it's like, it's not like the movies where you're partying with chicks and everything. Like you are up at 6 a.m., practice, school, sleep, do it again. So then I'm like, holy shit, I can go to a concert on a Tuesday. Like I can go to Bozeman and see buddies. And then life just really started opening up, got really into outdoors, lost a ton of weight because I was like, I don't want to see a weight room. I was like 210 pounds. Oh, wow. With my frame, it's like the weight just fell off. I was like 170. My body felt better. My mind was getting right. And I really just started leaning into, what do you want to be known for? I want to be the guy that's a good friend, that's a good time to be around, that you can count on. And that just kind of led to where I am now of just bartending. I mean, I was joking with Josie, of course, another bartender turned realtor, got my master's in bartending, got my real estate license. And I was always really apprehensive of going into it. Chris was already in it for a couple years, and he's like, you should really get into real estate. And I was like, yeah, I just don't want to be that bartender that does real estate. I was sales repping for a clothing company. I was, messing around with odd jobs, and finally COVID hit, and I was dating my now wife, and I had finished the class in real estate, but I hadn't taken the test. And finally one day she was like, well, I signed you up for the test. You take it in a week. Don't make me lose my money. So that was kind of the fire under my butt that I needed. Passed it my first time. Started working at Lambros. Was by myself the first year. Struggled for 6 months. Like didn't have anything. I was chasing mobile home leads to Polson for $100,000 and like really. But again, it was my football mentality of I'm going to go to every training. I'm going to go to the office, even though I got nothing to do. I'm going to get in the hip pocket of the killers that have been doing it forever and just learn, be a sponge. And then ended up just ripping and ended up getting rookie of the year, made more money than I'd ever made. I was like, holy shit, this is actually pretty cool. And then that's when me and Chris teamed up that second year. He was like, dang, like I have a young family. I'm not always available, but I can help you out. You can help me out. And we've built this now business, and it's so fun building something with your best friend. Like we're strictly 50-50. We split everything. If I sell my mom's house, we're splitting it. And a lot of realtors are like amazed by that. They're like, well, what if it's your lead? Like, is it 60-40 or 70-30? And I'm like, no, because once you start keeping score,
yep.
That's where weird tensions arise.
Yep.
And there's no better feeling than giving my best friend a big check. Like he's going to use that for his beautiful kids, his wife, and it never is equal. I'll have 3 in a row that are my people, then he'll have 4. And it's just so cool. And real estate's so brutal of when it's good, it's great. When it's bad, it's awful. That, I mean, this business, I mean, with Katie, like you can have a run where people ghost you, people use a different agent. It's not, you have all this money floating there and it's all gone. But having a buddy to pick you up when you get your teeth kicked in, it's like, I think we kind of hacked it of just like, we can do more. We can double our efforts. We're always available to our clients. And we've just been very blessed with what we got going on. And he's just like me. He was a bartender forever. Between me and him, like I said, we know everybody and we can make it roll.
What you're talking about, that 50-50 split. So me and Grayson do the same thing, 50-50 everything. And even Josie and I right now, like we're just she's been really helping us a ton with my current clients that she's been going back to now. And again, that's the thing. And going back to what Josie said, because I'm a big believer that if you always give away more than you take, people don't leave you.
Yeah.
And even from a team-based standpoint, for people who maybe want to build a team with whatever they're doing, I was talking to a buddy of mine who runs a cleaning business recently. And I was like, man, you need to find a way, whatever it is that you make this want to be the last job that anyone ever has. And so I think that the way you do that is by making sure that people are getting paid maybe a little more than what they're worth even right now. Like it's always a little bit more, but so that they know that, like, because we all kind of know where we're at. Like, and in our head, we know, like, oh, shit, I'm getting probably paid more than I need to right now, like, or that I should be, but also always making every financial decision in favor of your team.
We've had a couple people be asking about how to scale their business and start adding more people to their business.
And this is, I think it's like, I don't know where I learned this from, but I just believe in capitalism. Like, I believe if you give away more than you take in every aspect, and because not only are my, like, I look at, like, yes, my clients who were managing money for, they're our clients, but, like, honestly, I think of, like, Grayson and Josie are my biggest clients.
Exactly.
Because the more I can help them and them be successful, it's like, well, one, I don't want to train my direct competition. I want them to have ownership where they have the creative freedom to do what they want to do. This is big boy rules. But I also want them always feeling like, this would be so stupid of me to leave, because I have so much opportunity here. I have so much support. I have the potential to grow it however I want to. And so I think when you approach it that way, you know, it frees up a ton of time as well, because there's times like, oh man, if I wasn't splitting that, but like, it's like, well, yeah, but I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't have had the time to develop the skills.
Yeah, have a podcast.
Yeah,
like,
I wouldn't.
You'd be running around like crazy.
And that's the thing is, like, I can do so much what I do because of our team. Like, you know, Josie has taken a tremendous amount just in follow up off of my plate with, like, making sure that we're serving our clients. I was laughing because she said she called you and you're like, well, I just switched some stuff up, but I'm going to be coming in for the podcast. Because
I'm like, hey, just on my list.
Yeah. Still on my list though. Yeah. And, but she's been, like, connecting with all of our, like, with a lot of my current clients and, like, helping them update their plans, making sure they really do have access to.
And sorry, not to interrupt, but most of these clients, it's like 10 years that they've been working together. And so it's not just like any clients. It's like, damn, these people have been here for so long. How do we serve on these people first? Because they're so loyal.
Totally. I think Josie's been a great addition of just with that follow-up. I mean, we would run into each other and I was happy with what I was doing. I was kind of on a set it and forget it thing, but it was good. She kind of just ignited me to be like, yeah, dude, like let's get a little more aggressive. And going back to the, like, scaling and everything in your employees, there was a regular at the bar, John Bennett, love the guy. He'd come in every day. And he's a very successful attorney, runs a good business. I recognize the name. Yeah, you know, JP.
Been in a law firm or something. Yeah. I think he was on our 401k prospect list for a while. So yeah.
Hell yeah. And I remember asking him, I was like, what advice would you give to a young guy starting a business? And he was like, always take care of your employees, because you spend so much money. Say you nickel and dime them and you just pay them what everyone else is paying them. They're going to leave, and then you're going to go back to ground zero. You got to hire a new guy. You got to train them. Like, how much money, maybe it's not a dollar value, but time have you put into that person just to have them leave in 6 months? He's like, I pride myself on my retention. Like, I have so many employees that have been with me forever because, yes, I give them big bonuses, and if I do good, they do good, and we all do good. Yep. And me and Chris, we always say, like, we work for the Gratton Funston Group. Like, we are employees of it. The company needs to get paid first, and then we disperse our funds. It's not well, I got this and you got that, and we're just like sailors on drunken leave. It's like, no, we run a business. We have our marketing budget, we have our dues, we have our licensing, our fees and everything. And it's just but it's a fun thing, like going to your capitalism thing. I'm a bleeding heart capitalist. Like, going back to the privilege thing, it's like, no, in a true free market, it always benefits the consumer, because the competition drives price down. Where nowadays I feel like we have this crony capitalism where the government has their fingers in so much. I mean, I see it every day in real estate. People want affordable housing. Yes, we all do. But why is it tens of thousands of dollars to just get a permit? I mean, we had a client 2 years ago that had a big lot with a house on it. It was zoned for a duplex. He wanted to just split the lot and sell the land to a builder to build a duplex. It took him $40,000 and 2 years to just split a lot in Missoula. It's
we were even just talking about getting if you buy a lot, you have to get a sewage check or a water check.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, all the
And then
infrastructure and all of that.
That's like super expensive.
Takes
Takes
time.
forever. It takes like
Yeah.
a year just
Where
to
it's
get
like,
the water checked.
This guy's lot, it should take $500 for a surveyor to shoot a line, register it with the county, because now that 40 grand is now passed on to the sales price to the builder, who now has to pay his guys and eat that cost. So now he buys the lot rather than 100 grand, 140. Now he builds it, and with all the permitting and workers' comp and all that, and take care of your employees, like do the right thing. But now that duplex is $650,000.
Yep.
And now you have to have the rents high. And it's like everyone wants affordable housing. Well, builders aren't going to build it for free. And the bureaucratic red tape is such a sunk cost that doesn't add any value. And yes, we don't want to be living in shacks and favelas, but like Phoenix, Arizona does this, like it's called like intrinsic zoning or something. And if your parcel or what you want to build meets the zoning code, you get a permit that day. Boom. It's like $20 and you can start building. And that just speeds up the process. It's cheaper. So you have more building. It's supply and demand. And Missoula's interesting because it's such a tight geographic bowl. We're surrounded by mountains. That's why I buy rentals and I believe in Missoula, and it's easy to sell here because it's so insulated. It's not like a Phoenix or a Vegas where they have thousands of acres of subdivisions that they can just keep building and that increases supply. Granted, it's way more expensive here. You go to Billings, all my buddies are living in $200,000 mansions, and I live in a shitty alley house that is 450 grand. But they also live in Billings, and I live in Missoula. But it's just very interesting, and I feel like our city council and planning and everything, and don't cancel me, still appreciate you guys, they just muddy it so much by trying to do the right thing, but they have no incentive. And I always say, show me the incentive, I'll show you the outcome. If you're a city employee making whatever an hour, 5 o'clock hits, you're done. Where me and you and Josie, like, we don't have a 9 to 5. I'll work till on a Saturday night till 10 o'clock. But if I want to go golfing on Monday and I don't have anything and I got all my shit done, I'm going to do that. And I just think you feel like you guys and me and our business, it's true capitalism of I can do whatever I want. I can make as much as I want if I'm willing to put in the work. And a lot of people don't. They see the Selling Sunset and the HGTV and they're like, oh yeah, it must be nice being a realtor. No, it's hard work. Oh, you get to be your own boss. No, I have 40 bosses. Yeah. And they all have different time frames. And yes, I have freedom of schedule, but I can schedule like 3 hours in advance. Like when we scheduled this, it was like 3 weeks out. I'm like, who knows what's going to pop up on Thursday morning? Like if I got to go, I got to go. But it's just, I love America in that sense. And I just wish that we could get back to a truly free market.
I think that a lot of that too, we've talked about this with other people. There's a couple things in there. I think that people are still trying to figure out purpose, because again, and for so long, people were just worried about survival. And I know I'm repeating myself because I talk about this over and over, but now we're just kind of getting this time where no one is starving to death in America. Like people talk about food insecurity. I'm not saying that people aren't hungry and that there's not challenges. I understand that. But there's so much opportunity to get help that, like, if anything, we have like an eating problem in America. We have a people are eating too much problem.
Yeah.
And then you look at like what you're talking about too with the incentives. That's what's always really weird for me is that like I think about this a lot. I think a lot of people, when you really look at the way they're living their life, and no one likes to hear this, but like people, they zig instead of zag. And there's so many little things. Like I think of my life and I don't do anything that hard. I'm not doing anything crazy like, oh, this isn't like, I don't work out that hard. I work out for like 30 to 45 minutes, like maybe 5 days a week. I do some jujitsu. I'm having fun with it, but I'm not killing myself in the gym.
Yeah.
Or even just like little daily habits. Like, would it be easier for me to sleep in till 6:40 every morning? Yeah, but no, I wake up at like 5:30 and I work for an hour to an hour and a half before the things start. Would it be easy for me to eat pancakes with syrup and a bunch of peanut butter and be, yeah, that'd be tastier. But no, I eat some eggs and some bacon. Would it be easier for me to do all these little things that, like, would it be easier for me to not work out during the day and just go home, maybe play some video games and be a little bit lazier? Yeah, it would be easier, but like long term, I want to live a long, healthy, successful life.
But and just to like put a little bow on that, it would be harder to be fat.
Yeah,
it'd be harder to get all
broke.
your shit done if you're waking up later.
Yep.
It'd be harder to, I forgot what the other ones were.
I don't know, just eating good. But like, and going back to that though, is like all these things, you're right, is that though, but it's so easy in America. It's so easy that you can do those things. You're not, people like, dude, I saw something, and again, people are gonna hate on this, I'm sure, but like, it bothers me. We talked about one before where there was a lady whose stroller got away from her and she couldn't run and chase it down. Yeah. I saw something just recently online where, again, a dog came and like got under this lady's kid, and like the kid was like riding the dog facing the wrong way. And this lady was so big, she couldn't even like jog to get her child. And like, again, live your life the way you want to live. God bless America. But don't then say that the problem is there's not enough opportunity. Yep. The problem is people are lazy. The problem is that people don't want to work hard. And people say, oh, you don't understand. You know where I came from. It's like, again, I was making no money. Like, I don't talk about it a ton, but maybe I will talk about it more now that we have this. Dude, I lived out of my car for a couple of weeks. I would sneak in to hotels that had a complimentary breakfast because I didn't have money to eat. And so I was like, I was so poor. And I think that's why with like my guys that are on my team, like I want to protect them from that. And so like, I'm like, I've got to make sure they're making enough money because like, but I did that and I was like, all right, well, this is what I'm doing right now. But like, that was just a section of time in my life. And now with all the tools we have, if someone wants to learn, like I always just be like, oh, you have the library, you can learn anything. But now with AI, like, dude, you could get great at anything really quickly if you're just willing to put in the work.
Yeah.
And I just think a lot of people, it's like going to the gym. It's simple, but that doesn't mean it's easy. And a lot of people don't like that. And a lot of people don't want to hear, like, oh, you might have to work harder. You might have to wake up earlier. You might have to stay up later and get your shit done. You might have to, while all your friends are going out and partying and living it up, you want to be someone, you probably can't do that, for a period of time.
It's just like this, it's like the quote of like, choose your hard, because it's all like being broke is hard.
Yeah.
Like I'm at one job emailing a different guy from this job at 10 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
Because I do 2 jobs, and it's like, I feel very grateful, and it's like not something that I ever really complain about.
Yeah.
Because I'm super grateful for the opportunities that I have, but I know a lot of people be like, nope, I'm done at 5.
Yep.
Good night.
Yeah. But
I'm
then
hungry,
they bitch about not having any money, and it's like,
that's hard too.
I mean, it's crazy. I have tenants who are great people, but that mindset of like being potentially, perpetually financially insecure. It's like you are always late on rent, but you're the older couple, you're retired, your wife works at Hallmark who has cancer, and then you tell me that you're bored all day. I'm like, bro, yes, you're an older guy, but like go to Home Depot with a sign that says, we'll work for $20 an hour. Because there's people that'll be like, cool, I need you to unload all these bricks or something. Like, I'm just like, you're always, hey, we got $200 here, we got $400 here. And I'm like, guys, like, you got to figure something out. Maybe this isn't the right place for you. Tell me that. Yeah. But like, it's just crazy. But then they got a nice new truck. And it's like, what do you guys, it's just, you're going to be perpetually in this catch up cycle for so long. And like you saying you have 2 jobs, I had 4 jobs at one point. Like, and people are like, oh, it must be nice. You bought a house and now you own rentals and blah, blah, blah. Passive income. I'm like, it ain't passive. Thanksgiving, you're getting a call at 7 o'clock at night and the sewer's backing up. Yeah, that's not passive. But I keep, playing the long game. Yes, these rentals, I don't pay myself from the monthly rent. I save that in a rainy day fund when a water heater breaks. But when I'm 50 and I tell my wife, like, she's like, when are we going to get a nicer house? Probably not for a while, because we're going to keep buying rentals, doing sweat equity, doing the work myself. And then when we're 50, we have 15 grand coming into a month. And now we can go to Mexico for the winter or do that. But people just live 2 feet in front of their face and they don't look up of like, I mean, going back to Frankie, when he moved to Williston, North Dakota, and he was grinding, trying to find these leases, he ended up talking the county clerk into giving him a key so he could get into the courthouse when no one was there at like midnight to check lease records and rights. And he was like, I lived in a hotel room for 3 years in Williston, North Dakota. I never partied. I didn't drink. I worked all day, all night. And he's like, his first deal ever, it was like a 100-acre parcel for $100 an acre. And so it was 10 grand. He was like, I had no money. And he was like, back then they would send you those preloaded credit cards. And he was like, it was literally like a message from God. It was like a $10,000 Visa. So he's like, I bought that land on a credit card.
Let's go.
Packaged the deal, went down to Texas, talked to Halliburton, all these big, ConocoPhillips, all these big companies. He's like, I tried to sell that deal to 28 different companies. Finally, a guy was like, I'm so sick of you coming into my office. I'll buy the thing. Like, I'll produce on it. And Frankie's like, to this day, I still get a check for like $1,000 a month. And that was 1990. And it's like, but then people will see Frankie now. He's got a beautiful ranch and like he's doing very well. But they don't see the Williston, North Dakota Frankie of like grinding. He was like, I remember just like shitting my pants at night of I have a kid on the way. What am I doing? Did I make the right decision by leaving Texas? But it's just playing that long game. And yes, he was like $1,000 a month was huge. But now he has how many of those deals, and it's just playing the long game again and having that reputation that when Frankie has a deal, it's probably a good deal. And he didn't cut any corners, never screwed people over. He always says, like in negotiations, is you want everyone leaving to think that they got the better part of the deal.
That's right.
And that's how we negotiate on real estate. Like Chris is a bulldog negotiator, but he's not a dick. Yeah. Like I hate when realtors are like, oh, I'll fight for my client and I'll just put the screws to you. I mean, we have agents all the time that will miss a date or miss something in a document where we could really screw them over and be like, cool, we get, the TVs in the house, yep. But because you didn't exclude them, but we're not going to do that because it's going to come back to us. We're going to mess something up. And just we always joke, I'm cocky with how people like us. They're like, cool, Zach and Chris play it by the book. They're nice. They're agreeable. And they figure it out. And when we're negotiating $10,000, $15,000 off a house, it's because we have a reason. We're not nitpicking, oh, the trim's chipped. Like, we want all new trim in the house. And there's agents out there that will do that. Yeah. But then you have the reputation that when we have two offers that are identical and we have that agent, we are like, be wary. That's not what you're going to have on paper is that price. They always give you a great offer and then just chisel you down. Where this guy, he's a stand-up guy. We've done deals with him. I would recommend that one. But
Katie's talked about that to me quite a bit. And, I see like just living in the house with her, what she's doing deals. And I say this, I've said this, about realtors, like before I married Katie and, she was working as a realtor and I was this guy who was like, why do people pay so much for these guys? These guys are idiots. They just put a sign up. Make too much money. I was just thinking of the South Park episode.
Yeah. Yeah. Look at that back arch.
Yeah, look at that back arch. That was what I thought realtors were. Man, I'm telling you guys, a good realtor is worth every penny. Yeah. The amount of just not even just more money all the time. It's that, but it's also the headaches. You were talking earlier about like the communication side, but with realtors too, it's like a huge game of telephone on this huge purchase.
Yeah.
And
biggest purchase of people's lives.
And then you have people who have such different thought processes about money, about home ownership, about where they're at. And like, it is just this crazy, crazy thing. But then I've seen Katie talking with clients where she'll be like, this is a good offer, but I know what this agent's going to do. They're going to get us to inspection, and that's when they're going to try and beat us up on price. Yep. And I've heard her tell people, it's like, inspection is not the time to negotiate price. Mm-hmm. We're past that, And so one thing I wanted to go back to what you said is that, because I think, though, having known you for, I don't even know how many years it's been now, dude.
Dude, I think I was like 22, maybe. I got hooked up through Lila. Yeah. She was the manager at the bar, and now she's in real estate, of course. But Yeah, I remember I met with you, and we met at Shitty Brew, and
your long hair.
Exactly, I had my long hair. I was a surfer. I was in flip flops and swim trunks, and going back to Frankie, like I was like, yeah, I want to start making my money work for me, and I didn't have much, but it's funny. I always joke, Missoula back in 2015, I was probably making 50 grand as a bartender. Had more money than God, dude.
That felt like a lot of money back then.
Exactly, it was. My rent was
$300.
$300.
Yeah.
Oh my
Like
God.
I remember just walking down the street, and I was making $300 a night at Mo Club, working 3-4 nights. And I remember just walking by like a ski shop, and there was a brand new snowboard for like $900, and I was like, I'm gonna buy that for my brother, just cause. And I did, because but then I was having that short term thing of like, well, I'm gonna make another $300 tonight. And I remember teaching my buddies like, you go out partying after a shift. I'm like, just because we made 300 doesn't mean you have 300 to party on. Do 30.
Yeah.
We know the bartenders will get hooked up. Just put that away. And I had my shoebox, and then I was like, okay, Rob, like I get inflation. I have a bunch of cash under my mattress. What are we doing? And we got set up with my IRA, and I was doing the max back then, which was a lot for a 22-year-old kid.
Yeah.
But now that thing's clipping along. It's so cool to see it like exponentially, like it finally is like curving, where it's like, wow, it's compounding. And I'm like, damn, and I forget about that. It's not money. I don't act like I have that money, but starting early is so big. And that's a message I'd give to young guys, is like, whatever you can do it now, because the time value of money is out of control.
Well, and you were saying something that I think, having gotten to know you, like I see you do both of these things really well. Because you were talking about when you and Belle Babe are like 50, oh, we're going to have this great life and this and that. But you're also still having a blast, dude. Like
I love my life.
You're having so much fun. I remember, because again, I hear people pretty regularly like, oh, I'm going to get into real estate. And sometimes I'm like, we'll see, hopefully that works. But I remember when you told me, he's like, this is what I'm going to do. I'm like, yes, this is you, man. This is going to be a good fit. And then like, you've done such a great job of just year after year making progress. And it went from you being like a surfer with long hair who almost drowned because of his hair. I remember when you cut it, and I was like, what happened there? Well, I'll let you tell that story in a bit. But then like, and just like the little things day in, day out. And I remember you coming like, I'm buying a rental and I'm doing this. And then like, dude, your accounts, I mean, where they're at now, in just that short period of time. And this goes to, as I was telling you, and again, we talk about this at every podcast, is the idea of 10X is easier than 2X, is like where you're at right now. There's so many people who would love to be where Zach Gratton is, where you own a couple of rentals, you're married to someone that you like have a great relationship with. People respect you in town because you're a genuine, honest guy. And I imagine if you look back, it probably to you is like, well, yeah, I've worked hard and consistent, but like, it's not like you're killing yourself. It's not like you have no fun and you're not enjoying life, And so I think that that's something that you're doing a good job on, and that I hope that people see, like, there's a balance between like, yes, you have to work hard, but man, you could die tomorrow. So like, you still have to have fun. You still have to have great relationships. You still have to enjoy life and just do the things that are fun as well. And so like, that's something I've seen you do. But yeah, and then I mentioned your long hair, dude. Tell the story. That's just a funny story.
So it was crazy. So after football, my dad was a big kayaker. He was like a pro kayaker back in the day. And they have Brennan's Wave downtown in Missoula. And there was a surf shop called Strongwater that made surfboards specifically designed for the river. Because it started over like in Germany, and there's been river surfing for a while, but they'd always use ocean boards, and the buoyancy of fresh water is different than salt water. So we would pack a lot more volume in the board in a shorter board. They almost look like wakeboards, but it was a cool thing. Like we were doing specials with like Outside Magazine, Red Bull, like National Geographic, like places were coming around, and we'd travel around the country, like the Snake River in Wyoming and all over the place. Because there's like 15 waves in a 90-mile radius of Missoula. It's like the Hawaii of river surfing. And it was cool. And I was still a young, dumb kid, but I was like, yeah, this is how I'm going to, this is what I'm going to be. I'm going to be a pro river surfer. I'm going to be I was sponsored by like Pit Viper and Shinesty and Howler Bros and all that. But still, it wasn't a sustainable career, but it was really fun. And I would just surf and bartend. And for 5 years, I was just a dirtbag Missoulian, and it was a great time. But yeah, we were at in Idaho at the Locksaw pipeline, which is a huge wave. And behind it, it has like all these boils that must be, because it's a very like deep, narrow river. And so I had super long hair, like past my nipples, and was surfing, got sucked under, and it would just hold you under for like 20, 30 seconds. And I'd always just relax, hold your breath. It was like you were like in the womb again, or like a party, and it would inevitably spit you out. But this time I was like, all right, I was like kind of counting in my head, like, all right, 30, 35. I was like, holy shit, I got to start like fighting. So I finally got up, and I was like literally at the end of my tank in my lungs. And I came up, and my hair was like totally covering my face, and tried to get that one thing of air and couldn't. And then I got sucked under again. And it was very scary. And then the next day I cut my hair. And then I lost all my sponsorships. Like, I feel like that was my look.
Like
I had like I had the pit vipers and everything. And then they're like, oh, you just look like a normal guy now.
Yeah.
And so now I'm not big on pit viper. Their nose pieces hurt. But
yeah. I do remember, because this, all of a sudden I saw you. I was like, bro, what is this?
Yeah.
You're like, I almost drowned. And I was
Yep.
like, that makes sense there.
Exactly.
I didn't know there was more waves besides Brennan's wave.
Yeah, so like out at the gorge, there's like 3 out there, and then down Idaho's huge on them. Like, Pipeline's the best. We love that one. But
So as you got into real estate then, like, let's kind of walk through that journey of like, what made you, like, because I know you're like, oh, I'm thinking about this, and obviously Belle Babe like set up the test, and you kind of ran forward with that. And I think that she's been such a great influence in your life.
And before we get into that, I would say probably the best advice I would give anyone, male or female, who you marry or partner with is probably the single most important decision of your life, financially, emotionally. I mean, Belle Babe, we met at Mar-Bar. She was a server, and I always joke, like, dip my pen in company ink. It's not always a good idea, but it worked out with us. And we dated for a really long time. And then she's just, it was moments like that where it's like, yeah, we were having fun and whatever, just young kids, but she's like, no, I want you to be better. Mm-hmm. You're not just a bartender. Like, you have these qualities. You want to do this. You've talked about it. And I think, like, thinking critically, I'm a big talker. Like, I could do better at like doing what I actually say I'm going to do. But that was one of those instances where I did it, and then I went full go. And when I got into real estate, yeah, like I said, was just learning everything I could, putting signs in the yard for agents, like just tried to, and going back to the relationships of like, you can't do it yourself. Go to the big people that you respect, your mentors, and just say, I want to learn this. I'll do whatever you want me to do. Like, I'm going to eat shit for however long it takes to learn from the guys that are crushing it. And I got in with this guy, Joe Cummings, who is a killer. And I remember he went on vacation for like a weekend, and he was a big Zillow guy. And so the way Zillow works is you buy shares of a zip code. So when you're sitting online and you want to talk to an agent, it's like a jump ball, and it goes to the first guy. If he doesn't answer, the second guy, the third guy goes down. Joe was a big Zillow guy, and that was back when Zillow was it was cheap, probably $2,000. You'd be the number, you always want to be the top 3 because your picture would show up, but he's like, you want to be the number 1 guy. And I covered his Zillow for like 3 days. I got 2 deals under contract, and that was in the COVID crazy where people were calling up, buying. And it was huge because I knew a bunch of people, but then, like I always say, they're like, of course, Zach is a bartender, got into real estate. Like, good guy, not going to trust him with my house. But these random people that would call you on Zillow, they don't know me. Mm-hmm. And I guess it was kind of fake it till you make it. I mean, I'd help Joe on deals, so then I could be like, oh yeah, I was on a deal where they had mold in the crawl space. Like, this is what you got to do. You look like a pro. Mm-hmm. And these people started trusting me, and then I was just ripping Zillow leads. And I remember Joe got back, and I was like, is this how it is? He's like, I mean, you saw it. So I had money saved, and I always tell people, if you're getting into real estate, you got to have a cushion because you're not going to get paid for 6 months to a year. And I had money saved from bartending. I started buying my own leads. And like I said, it was like $2,000. Just was ripping them. And then now your sphere, the people that know you are like, oh shit, Zach actually knows what he's doing. he's, now I'll trust with him and work with him. And so you're compounding that. But then when me and Chris teamed up, I was like, dude, we got to get on this Zillow train. Like, it's crazy. But that was when rates kind of shot up. And then Zillow always does this thing where they're like, cool, we're introducing more shares in a zip code. If you buy them, you'll stay on number one. Cool. 2 months later, hey, there's no more shares available in that zip code. We're going to introduce more. Do you want to stay on top? And then you're like, I remember talking to the guy. I'm like, I see the business model here. He's like, well, it is what it is. And by the time me and Chris were spending like $5,000-6,000 a month, and it's like, well, yeah, it was good when it was 2, but now at 6, you sell one house, that covers your Zillow monthly spend. Now you got to do 2. But that was when rates shot up and kind of everybody paused, and we were just hemorrhaging money. And that second year, we did horrible. Like, we sold between us less than what I sold by myself my first year. But we held on. We started an excavation company. We still do that, little blue collar and white collar mix. And we just kept grinding. We still bartended. And inevitably, with me and Chris, our sphere has now taken over our online leads. So it's just so much better when somebody is referred to you from a friend, because then you don't have to tell them how good you are. Your friend already did. Yep. And it's huge. Same in your business. Like, when Lila recommended me you, it's way better than me going on Google and being like, oh, who's this guy? And then you have to already say, you're like, no, I helped Lila. I'm a good guy. And she echoes that. So that's a huge thing. Going back to the reputation and everything is like just building that reputation of go to Zach and Chris. They're good. And then you are, then it just compounds. But that was kind of how we started in there.
When and kind of going back to a couple of things you're saying, because you're talking about working your sphere, and I've seen that too. Sometimes it's hard, like whatever industry you're getting into, where people don't know you as that yet. And so they, like you said, they know Zach the bartender.
Exactly.
And so it can be really discouraging, I think, for people as they're first getting into whatever new sales-based business they're doing, whether it's selling real estate, financial advising, insurance, car sales, whatever. If you're selling bigger ticket items, because they did, it's like, I saw you, Zach, when you were drunk downtown,
exactly.
acting like an idiot. Like, what, you want me to buy my house with you?
Yeah.
But I think that as you do, like you said, if you can get one center of influence step out from the people who immediately know you to the people they know, because that was how I built it. I mean, that's how we met. Like, I was getting referrals because I had no budget. And I think this is another thing, is just thinking through, well, how can I make this work with what I have? Because, sometimes I think people hear, like what you're saying is like, oh, I don't even have $2,000 to start with advertising. And that's, or like with us, we're spending a fair amount with SEO and all that stuff. But it's grown to be that where we can leverage money to replace time of prospecting, where we can try and grow by multiplication versus by addition. But early on, that's not how it was. Early on, it was, I was meeting with people. I had a process to get referrals from them, which by itself, when we think about it, like, people don't really give out referrals like the way that, like, give me this person's name, phone number, and make an introduction. And so I remember sitting and thinking through, like, how can I get it where people will actually give me the numbers of these people so I could call them? And that was where I would just sit down, and it's not a lot to a lot of people, I'm sure, but I would make 100 calls a week, and I would just meet with everybody and see what happened, you know? And, but it does, like, it grows into things where it's like, that's also I would feel like an antiquated way of growing my business, where it's like, okay, well, there's better ways. And, and so trying to capitalize on some of those things has made a big difference. I saw a big difference for you, man. I remember there's been, like, as you're talking, I'm like, I remember some of the things that, like, when I got with you, I was like, oh, this is a different version of Zach. And I think if there was a time that I ever saw you kind of down was, when Belle Babe, I think she went overseas somewhere. Yeah. I remember that, Zach.
That's a crazy origin story. Yeah. So, like, me and Belle Babe, we dated for like 2 years, I think. And then even before we started dating, she would always be like, she's a Missoula girl, been here forever. She was like, I want to move to Europe for a year. And it's like, yeah, of course, whatever. And the one thing that's not the one thing, one of the things that I love about Belle Babe is when she says she's going to do something, she does it. And so we have a great relationship. We're young, we're having fun. And she's like, I got this au pair job in Germany, and I'm going to teach English to these German kids. And I was kind of like, well, shit, we got a good thing going on. Like, what are we doing? But I luckily had the foresight to be like, if she doesn't go because of me, and it was a young relationship, and I always like tell younger guys that are going off to college, like, probably don't settle down early. Like,
Agreed.
If you're a high school sweetheart, that's awesome. But you see so many guys, I had buddies in college that like went to a college for a girlfriend. They break up. He missed a scholarship over here, quit college, works at the refinery. Like, that sucks. Mm-hmm. So you should be kind of selfish when you're young, but keep meeting people. But Belle Babe, I was like, if she doesn't go because of me, she may hold that animosity towards me, you know, later on. If she goes and we don't get back together, it's never meant to be. If she goes, it was a good opportunity for not many couples get. You kind of fall into this trap of, well, then they moved in and now I guess we had a kid and now I guess we're married. Mm-hmm. Where we had this pause where we broke up technically in a good relationship to see if we really wanted to. Because it could have been easy to be like, hey, I found somebody else. Like, you know, always will love you. But we kept in touch over that time in Europe. And then I flew over there when her contract was up a year later. And we traveled Europe, came back. And it took some adjusting because then I was like single again. Mm-hmm. But then, you know, we had rough patches. But then it was such a good foundation of, we had a great one. We had a timeout to see if we really wanted it. And then it's just been awesome. I love being married. I always tell my buddies, like, when they're getting married, I'm like, I love being married. It's so nice to have that solid person that you can be totally yourself. You can have horrible days with, and they're there for you. And it's not like, well, yeah, if I slip up, they're going to break up with me. It's like, well, now the government's involved. So you got a contract.
They might. But
yeah. But like Belle Babe, like she said she wanted to go to Germany. She went to Germany. She came back. She always wanted to start a food truck. Started a food truck, was very successful, sold that, wanted to be a counselor, got an online master's degree from Boise State, did that. Now she's crushing counseling and eventually will do her own thing. But it's a really good, and we're totally opposite. I mean, a Friday night for her is a book and a bath. And we have a very good relationship of, she knows that how I fill my cup is just being out. Like, yes, I love drinking beer. I don't like being drunk, but I'm a happy hour king because I love meeting people and talking to people. And it'd be weird if we were like, yeah, let's go get coffee. Like,
you don't always have to like all the same things.
Exactly. And she knows, and it'll change. We got a kid on the way, but it'll change then. We won't be as free, but she understands that that's what I need to just be me, and it fills my cup. And she's like, I don't need to be sitting in a dingy bar, where I'm like, that is my shit. Yeah. I love talking about anything and everything, serious, not serious, sports, economy, anything, over beer, where it's like, you have one coffee and it's like, well, should we get another round? And it's like, well, no, we're shaking. Like, it's interesting. It just gives you something to do with your hands. I'd rather
be drunk. Honestly.
Exactly.
I need a little.
Yeah, just hit that
like
line.
The king of writing like that 3 beer buzz.
Exactly. Like, the 3 beer buzz is
it's
heavenly.
Right, well, I mean,
I got a good gas pedal.
Though, I mean, and I forgot totally. I mean, and well, before we move on for this, because like I think that was really good for you, because I feel like at that stage in your life, you were starting to go from being a kid to being a grown up.
Exactly.
You know, and so I think this is something that young men go through. Like, Katie and I had something similar where, you know, she was ready to move out here and I was the one who paused it. And we basically ended up dating long distance, but we broke up for a while because of it. And I think it was one of those things that you have to have sometimes, that like, you know, lose something great.
Exactly.
Like, oh, man, I
showed
really
you what your
this.
Life was like without Belle, and then I wanted it back.
And I know, like with Katie and I too, like, 'cause same story, man. Everyone has ups, everyone has downs. You know, it's impossible to be married with someone where you live with them, you eat with them, you share a bathroom with them, you're around them all the time, your finances are tied. Of course you're going to argue.
Yeah.
Of course you're going to get into things where you're like, oh my gosh. But then, like, I think what you said about finding someone that's the right fit, it being such an important thing. That's what's one thing too. Like with Katie and I, when we have our issues, I always come back to, though, like on our major life, like our major core beliefs, I think we're batting 1,000. Dude,
exactly.
Like you could bring up any subject, and like I'm a pretty like conservative person. I want, you know, I don't want you to tell me that my son's a girl. I don't want that. I don't want you to tell me that, like, I don't know. I don't want all the stupid stuff. You do whatever you want with your family, but don't tell me how to do it with mine.
Exactly.
And if anything, Katie's probably further along than I am. She'll be like, she gives me a hard time. Like I said something, and she's like, well, yeah, blah, blah, blah. Have you gone down the chemtrails rabbit hole? I'm like, what?
Oh man.
No, I didn't know what that is.
Yeah.
She's like, oh my God. And she like looks at me like, you idiot. Like, what are you doing with our family? You know? But it does make a difference, because I've seen people where they marry someone who they have kind of different core beliefs. And I'm not going to say his name, but a friend of mine, him and his wife ended up getting divorced over COVID.
Yeah.
Like, they had completely opposite beliefs of how it should happen. But I think that sometimes that just, it is, you fall into it. I like my ex and I are a perfect example. My ex, when we got married, we were both in a spot where we were both kind of broke. She had just finished dating some dude she'd been dating for a long time. We were having fun, but I needed a place to live, and it was like, all right, let's just live together.
Fall into it.
Dude, and you just like, all of a sudden you wake up and you're like, what am I doing with this person? And I think for younger people, especially guys, I don't know what it's like to be a girl, but I think as a young man, it's important to like be in a position where you don't financially need someone.
Exactly. I think that's huge.
I think it's important for girls too. I know
girls just need to do what they're told. No, I'm kidding. I'm joking. Oh, I'm getting canceled. They're gonna clip that. Yeah. Robert, remember when you said this?
There's some things that could be cut.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't.
No, I always have said that like opposites do attract. I think personality wise, I think I'd go crazy if Belle was like me. Like I'm just go, joking around all the time, just yapping. But your values, like you said, I think should sync up. I think there's a massive issue if, you believe in God, your spouse doesn't. Like that affects how you parent people. Like what happens when grandma dies? Like what do you say to that? And me and Belle differ politically, but we're conservative libertarians.
How do you say you guys make that work? Because I would feel almost in today's day and age, that might be harder. Like if your political views are drastically different, like, I mean, especially with a kid on the way, how do you see that? Like, because it's going to be a difference.
Totally.
What do you think there?
And it's funny. I always joke with Belle Babe, like she's like so alternative, not alt-right, but like trad wife, that she's like come back around the spectrum to like,
I don't know what trad wife, what does that mean?
So trad wife is like
it's traditional.
Yes. Okay. Like Belle Babe.
Kids these days.
I'm so blessed because she's like, we have a kid on the way. She's like, I don't want to work. I want to raise the kid.
Let's go.
I want you to work.
Yes, ma'am.
And I think that's a massive thing in today's day and age is the whole feminist movement, and I'm going to get on my soapbox. Don't cancel me.
They can cancel us. Who cares? Just double down. I'm doubling down if you guys cancel me.
Exactly. So, I mean, looking back at the feminist movement, it was financed by like the Rothschilds and the Rockefellers, because by getting a whole half of the population in the workforce, you can drive down wages, and then your kids are now raised by the state, which they control and fund. So now they can just build these factory workers to then take your spot. And that's why our education system, I think, is a joke. Never learned about taxes. I've never used the Pythagorean theorem, but I know it. A squared, B squared is equal C squared. And it's just, I feel like I'm very lucky that Belle Babe, she works her ass off. She always has. But she's like, my Super Bowl is raising our family. She's been studying being a mom forever. We have like the most planned pregnancy of all time.
How far along is she now?
She just started the third trimester.
Okay. So by the time this comes out, man, we're going to
end of July. But I mean, it's every podcast, every book, every YouTube thing. Like I feel like I know more than 99% of men about pregnancy and birth. Do you have a boy, girl? Do you know? We're gambling. We're going to wait. Let's go, baby. Exactly. All right, let's go. And she's just such a good woman that I know she's putting her mind to it. She's going to be a stay-at-home mom. But I think having those roles of like, yes, that's what I'm good at. I want to go out into the dark, cruel world and make the money. You are suited and better at being this nurturing, soft place to fall. And she's like, yeah, with her counseling degree, once the kids are grown up and in school or whatever, she can do her own thing and contribute more. But we've talked so much about what if this happens, what if this happens, what if this happens. And granted, Mike Tyson said everyone's got a plan until you get punched in the face. But I just think America was piping hot when we had those, you do what you're good at, I'll do what I'm good at. And if you want to be a girl boss, do that. Mm-hmm. But you look at all the stats of like happiness and depression and how people feel in the world. And I think sometimes women have been sold this lie of like, you don't need no man, like go be a girl boss and all that. And that's awesome. And you can, and that's what's great about America. You can't do that in Iran. You can't be a financial advisor. If you want to do that, do that. Mm-hmm. But if you don't want to do that, you don't have to. Yeah. And I just feel like no wonder these guys are, you know, growing up in that woke era and like, I mean, a little younger than me, you're talked down to your whole life. You're the bad guy, toxic masculinity, all this. Don't be a monster, a good monster of like, no, I'm going to be fit. I'm going to work my ass off. I'm going to just build an empire. Mm-hmm. They've tamped that down because I think the government, that's a scary guy they'd rather you be beholden to them and, you know, they can turn your electronic digital wallet off if you pipe off and say some crazy shit. But I'm just very blessed. I'm so lucky that Belle Babe, and it's just communication. Like we've done this through, she's done the entrepreneurial thing with the food truck and has her own business now and all that. But she's like, if I don't have to do it, she's like, I don't like working. I'm like, I get it. And that's going to be a full-time job raising the kid. And I'm obviously going to, when I get home, I'm going to be on. She can take time off, do whatever she wants, run air, whatever she wants to do, go hang out with friends. But not having this, like, we're both moms, you know? And so, I don't know. I'm excited for it. Granted, it's going to be not perfect, but I just think we're setting ourselves up, establishing those roles, and on the front end, I think will help. But who knows?
Real quick, I have to go to the bathroom so bad.
Hell yeah.
Let's pause. I'm going to just keep everything running so we don't have to start and stop anything.
Yep.
I'm going to leave this here, though. You guys can hang out, and then if anyone else needs to take a break,
I'm going to hit it right after.
But yeah, so going back to what we were talking about with, like, kids on the way and just kind of how that changes things. What are you guys as far as like, how do you see that? Because I mean, from like your thought process, like we all kind of have an idea of how we want this to be, but like when you're thinking about like, okay, if I have a boy, I want it to be this way. If I have a girl, I want it to be this way. Are you guys planning? Or are you just kind of like, hey, we'll see what happens? Or
no, that's very interesting. And yeah, you think about it all the time. Like I said, we're not finding out the gender. Well,
and I guess before we go further, why? What was the thought process there? Just want to be surprised?
I don't know. So Belle Babe, she'd probably kill me for saying this. We want to have a very traditional birth. We're shooting for a home birth. Mm-hmm. Like I said, we've been researching and studying it for so long. We have an awesome midwife, Ashley. But we have, plan A, plan B, plan C. And our midwife is like, the only way that we're going to attempt this is if there's no red flags going into it. But she, we have our weekly appointments and she's checking vitals and all that. And she's like, yes, right now you're young, you're healthy. Everything's good. We can shoot for it, but anything can happen. But, she's like, yeah, we work really good with the birthing center at Community. And then if that doesn't work, like we have a doctor, an OB at Community if we have to get transferred or whatever. And it's a big thing for me, because growing up, it was like, no, yeah, we have advances in medical science, like go to the hospital. But as I've researched it personally, I feel like, yes, it's a beautiful thing and we've done so good and mortality is down and it's not the Wild West where you have, 3 of your 5 kids are dead. But I feel like in the medical model in America, when you're pregnant, it's this happy, beautiful, amazing thing. Like we were so excited. And then it's like the hospital kind of treats it like, oh shit, like you have a disease. Like we got to do this test. We got to do this test. We got to monitor this. We got to poke and prod and poke and prod. And the more you think about it is like women were built to birth. Like I think it's the closest thing you can get to God or religion of like creating life out of nothing. And it's such a beautiful thing that, I mean, people have been doing it for thousands of years. And if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Like, yes, we have those backups for our medical science and everything. But if you don't need it, I just think you look at the stats of like kids with like mental issues or physical issues, like it is pretty astounding of home births versus like how they sleep and like all the shots and prods that they get, like the vitamin K goop in the eye and like all this stuff. And it's like, is that what we want our kid to be? And who knows? Like I say, you can get punched in the face. I think I got all the answers, but I just think going to your question, you know, I feel like as a guy, every guy wants a boy because it's what we know. And you have dreams of them, you know, scoring touchdowns and doing all that. You can be harder on them. And I think my buddy told me this, who they waited for a surprise. And he was like, there's only a few surprises in life, like when you fall in love, when you die, and when you have a kid. And I just think, you know, if we just found out, and I'm probably going to have a girl, I think it's going to be a girl. But say we found out and it's like, it's a girl. It's like, shoot, you know, like wanted a guy, but I'm excited it's a girl. Where at this moment, I just want a healthy kid. And I get that, you know, as you get older, people are like, as long as they're healthy, that's all I care about. And it truly is what we want. But I think, say it's a girl, we'll be so elated that we did this amazing thing, that Belle Babe did this amazing thing. I just think it's a little better. But I don't know.
Well, it's with what you're saying. I mean, I have a son and a daughter. My daughter's older, you know, and so I remember going in and because my ex and we found out, and there was another dad that was sitting in the waiting room, and they went in right at the same time we did, and he came out and they had the ultragram. He's like, "It's a boy, yes, look." Yeah. He's like, "There's the penis," and he's like pointing to it. And I remember looking at my ultrasound. I was like, "Yeah, mine doesn't have that," you know. And so. But then, you know, and then with Lincoln, we found out as well. We kind of, same thing, Katie and I would talk. It was like, it's Lincoln. It's going to be Lincoln. We knew. We just kind of had that feeling. But I also think, too, like, something I've learned with Lincoln, and maybe just passing on wisdom, not necessarily to you, but just in general while we're talking, is like, I think as dads, especially like highly motivated people, it's easy for us to be like, we're going to make our kids this baller and this and that. And my buddy Brad, who's my jiu-jitsu coach, you know, I coach our kids at jiu-jitsu, and he pulled me aside, and not because I was doing anything wrong, but he's like, "Robert, I really want you to think about this." He's like, what's your favorite part about coming to jiu-jitsu? I was like, hanging with my friends, listening to good music, doing something hard together, like putting our phones away and just having fun. He's like, exactly. He's like, so why are we trying to take that away from the kids in here? Yeah. It shouldn't be this grind, this like, he was like, and we're just very honest. Like, even when parents come in, we're like, we're not like trying to produce world champion jiu-jitsu athletes in this gym. We're hobbyists. We're having fun. And that to me was like an aha moment, not for only the way I like the style I coached, but also the way that I parent, because I'm really glad he said that to me. Just, it was fortunate. It was luck. You know, because like I'm hard on Lincoln, but I've gotten a little softer with him recently, because it's like, what my expectation shouldn't dictate his life to the point where it's like, he needs to be this, he needs to be that. It's like, well, Robert, you weren't that, you were that. And it's like, and I don't regret any of my decisions, but like, I also want to be in a spot where it's like, if you want to be that, we'll go slay a dragon, son. What do you want, you know? But like, I also see that a lot of times, especially in a sport, you know, and you've done hard sports, whether it's football, it's wrestling, like wrestling is a grind, dude. And jiu-jitsu has that potential to be very, you know, grindy, where like, for kids, though, it almost kind of ruins it, because, like, for me growing up, you could just play baseball. You could just go on a rec league and you play ball. You could play at the Y, and it was just fun. And now it's turned into something where it's like you're seeing, you know, parents spending $10,000 to $15,000 a season to play baseball or to do this or to do that. And it's like, and what I think also happens though too is that kids, like, it's not fun, and they end up quitting, and they don't want to follow through, versus like, if we go back to the slight edge and long term, what is my life going to look like 5 years from now, 10 years from now, when I'm 80, you know, God willing, you know, it's if you don't quit and you could stay motivated, I think it leads to a lot more. And so that's something with Lincoln I've really tried to dial back on, of like pushing him, but like more setting an example. And that little dude like makes my heart so happy. He's so cool, bro. He's like my honestly, he's my best friend. Like, I love it. Don't get me wrong. Like, I'm dad. I'm always going to be dad first. And when it comes down to it, like, he knows this is the way, you know? But like, we hang out so much, and like, I work out, in my garage most often. And then like I have jujitsu mats and I have like a jujitsu dummy. I have a judo dummy. I have all that stuff. And so like he'll just come out probably, 3 days a week while I'm in there. No one says anything to him. He's just in his sweats, in his running shoes, and he hops on the treadmill. And like just 2 days ago, he was all pumped because he broke his record. He ran and he did. I'm watching him do this. He's running at 7 miles an hour and he'll like dial it up and down and walk. But he ran 1.2 miles in like just over 10 minutes.
Damn.
Which I was like, fuck, dude, that's pretty badass.
Really good.
Right. He was cooking, dude.
Yeah.
But then after that, we have a Bowflex. So he's over there doing like lat pull downs and like, he's like, Dad, how do I do? And he's like doing like lat pulls. So he's like flexing his little back. And then like he comes over because I had the mats and I was like practicing some jujitsu stuff. And he's like, he did 50 push-ups, he did 50 sit-ups, he did 50 jumping jacks after all this. So he worked out for like a solid 45 minutes.
Yeah.
And I'm just like looking at him like, dude, and he's like, but he's proud of himself. Like he feels good about himself too. And my wife and I, we talk about just setting that example of where no one told him to do that, but he sees like mom and dad work hard.
Yep.
Mom and dad have a good life and I'm going to do this. And then that's the thing we talk about with him a lot is like every day to him, every day, if not 1 or 2 times a day, it's more, but honestly, at least once to twice a day, say, Lincoln, your daily habits are going to make your life. Mm-hmm. Lincoln, no one controls your emotions but you. As soon as you feel your emotions getting angry, getting upset, you control your emotions. And Lincoln, no one is coming to save you. The world is not fair. It doesn't matter that you're only 8. When it's time to fight, you need to fight. When it's time to run, you need to run. And like, this is literally what I say to him as he's walking out the door. What's going to make your life, Lincoln? Daily habits. Who's coming to save you? And he goes, this guy right here, right?
Perfect.
And so like, I want him to think that because like what you're talking about with more of that traditional way of like, America, like traditional America, not weird America.
Exactly.
Again, I'm all for whatever people want to do. Like, that's fine. But I think there's a better way. I think that the better way is mom and dad are mom and dad. Dad does what dad's supposed to do. Mom does what mom's supposed to do. I'm really grateful that in today's day and age, though, I think what we've moved past a lot is that there's people with those more traditional looking values, but they're not like a dick to their kids.
Exactly. And that's that was a great little shtick. I wrote down some things I want to hit. First thing, I totally agree, and I'm so damn excited for whether it's a boy or a girl to have those moments of them running on the treadmill or just doing anything, picking up somebody that dropped something that somebody dropped, or like just being nice. I can't wait to just see this little thing that is me and Belle that I can support and mold, but let them fail, and teach them that. I think with, I love what you said of like, you're not going to force things. Like I always say, if my kid's an artist, I'm going to buy the easel, the paints, the markers. Like I will go so hard. I'll take you to art shows. Like I want to be there, and I want to be a perfect blend of my dad and Frankie. Like Frankie, I've always told him, as I'm older, like, thanks so much for being hard on me. And he's like, I have regrets. Maybe I came in a little too strong and was a little too aggressive, but I appreciate that. And I want to be the friend dad that, mine was, that was doing camping trips and raft trips and pro kayaker and snowboarder and all that. But I also do want to be the Frankie of like, no, I'm the man of the house 100%. And this is my rule. But yeah, like the wrestling thing, like I remember I wrestled for 10 years. My dad was a big wrestler. He'd always say, you want to play for the Grizz, you better wrestle. Like it'll help your football. And I hated 9.5 years of wrestling. I hated it. I remember crying in the parking lot, not wanting to go. It's winter, it's dark. I just hated it. I was good at it, but luckily I got to high school and I was like, dude, they want me to cut weight. Like that's not helping my football. And he's like, that's fine. You can stop wrestling. But I think that's a kind of a bad example of forcing your kid to do it. I think just letting them see what kind of turns their buttons and then fully supporting it. That's a good parent. And then going to activities, like you said, with the $15,000 in baseball, like we have an amazing mentor, Fred Nelson out of Billings. He's has like a one-way phone call to God. Like the dude is the most dialed, smart, wise guy. He helped my mom through her divorce with my dad, and he's just been in my life for growing up. And when me and Belle got engaged, he reached out and was like, hey, I want to mentor and counsel you guys for free. And he said, he's like, I lived my life financially with what the Bible says. I've been blessed beyond measures. He retired at like 50, and now he counsels 150 couples for free. It's his full-time job. He has an office. We meet like once a quarter, and any question, you can ask him any question. It can be relationships, parenting. I asked him, like, what's the Bible say about dinosaurs? Like, the guy is the guy that if the world ended, he could like write the Bible. He always, any answer about finances or anything, he has a Bible verse, he has a real world example, and like his interpretation of it. And he did this marriage class at the church last week that me and Belle zoomed in on. And he talked about like he has this whole packet of just what a good marriage is. And one of the things that I thought was very interesting is he was like, activities. He's like, I'm seeing so many marriages be stressed nowadays because of activities, extracurricular with their kids, that he's like, I would encourage you not to just say yes to everything. Like I see so many of my older friends with kids, and it's like, we got basketball this way, gymnastics over here, band practice, soccer, we got to go to Great Falls this weekend. And he's like, that stresses families out. It also hurts the sibling. Say you're the younger one, and what are you doing this summer? Well, we go every weekend, we go to Great Falls or Helena for a soccer tournament. Like, it just, he's like, the financial stress, the time suck. He's like, I would recommend if your kid does that, pay a parent and be like, here's $300. Like, can you take our kid? We're going to have a weekend with our one kid or just us and cultivate our marriage. And then next week we'll take your kid. Like, he's like, you don't have to submit and let your kids run your life, which I thought was a big thing. Is he was like, now that you're having kids, remember it's you and Belle. Mm-hmm. Like, people are always like, oh, I die for my kids and blah, blah, blah. You should. And I'm the same way. But he's like, you can't be a good parent if you don't have a good relationship with your spouse. And I think that's what a lot of people in today's world struggle with, is they have kids and they lose their identity. They lose what made them click. And your kids are going to grow up and leave. Yep. And then you see so many divorces when people are 40 and 50, and it's like, I don't even know you anymore. Mm-hmm. And he's like, he was like, me and my wife, once a quarter would do a mini moon, and we'd go to Red Lodge or something, or an hour drive. We'd go up to, like, if you're in Missoula, go to Whitefish for a weekend, no kids. And it's because and he was like, my daughters would always be like, why are you leaving us? Because I love your mom. And showing that, and he's like, my daughters now that have their own families are like, it was so influential that I always knew that you put mom first, mm-hmm. and then mom put dad first. And I just think we get lost in society of like, once you have, like, I have so many buddies like, just wait, dude, just wait. Life's over. You have a kid. And me and Belle are always like, no, screw that, dude. Like, it's, yes, things are going to change. Schedules will have to be better at planning. Yes, I'm not getting happy hour beers 3 days a week, but I'm still going to go out on a Friday, and next Friday, Belle can go out. Like, I just think that people lose that one person in your life when you have kids, and it's obviously going to be a struggle, but having that before and just trying to remember that's what I would recommend. But I don't even have a kid yet.
It is one of those things that it's easy to fall into that trap. Like, we all have good intentions, and I think sometimes those first couple of months after a baby's born, especially if they're not sleeping well, it just seems like the world is falling apart and everything is crazy. And then it's this weird thing, because, like, and having a blended family, with my being remarried, that makes things challenging too. And trying to avoid that. I mean, that's the best case. Marry the right one the first time. Yeah. Josie, make sure you marry the
Josie,
right one.
Come on.
That's good life advice for you. Yeah. You should write that down.
Financially, don't press the reset button.
Yeah, you don't want to hit that reset button. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, with kids too, is like, Katie and I do that. We do a trip every year to Mexico, which I think has helped our sanity, because, like every couple, and I kind of alluded to this earlier, but I think that it's important for people wherever they're at in life, whether they're just getting married, they're just having kids, or they've been married forever and they can't figure out why they're not getting along. And, and I've had to do this where it's like, you have to learn, you have to improve, you have to go back and think like, what is wrong, like what is causing issues, and start like really treating it like deliberately, you know. And I think for Katie and I, like, there's been ups and downs, but having that core belief set has helped us so much. But then taking time for just us. And I noticed that when we're struggling, it's because we're not the center of our family anymore. You know, it's when like
you're being dictated by outside things.
By outside things, or like by issues with my daughter, where like, cause she, again, you know, she's a 16-year-old teenage girl, and her and Katie, God bless America, man, they do not get along. And so that leads to stuff. And then like, and it's detracting. And so I think that when it comes to kids, it is so important, because you're right. Like, we are thinking like, oh, I would do everything for my kids. It's like, that's important. But if you do everything for your kids, then be a good husband. Be a good wife.
That's where it starts.
And it does. And like, and especially with Lincoln, I want him to know, like, this is what it means to be a man. Like, being a man. And my dad has been very open, and he's talked to me about this, because my dad growing up was like, he would tell me, Robert, like, when it came to girls, like he grew up in that thought process, and he's not like this anymore. You know, he's calmed down and very different, but like, he was like, a man is supposed to be a womanizer. Like, that's what a man is. Like, he would tell me, love them all or you might miss a good one, you know? And like,
Jesus.
I remember, and Dad, sorry if you're seeing this, you know, but I've learned so much positive from my dad. And I think one of the things I've learned from him is that he has been very open as we've both gotten older to be like, I was wrong about that, son. And I respect that about him. And this is something he's the person I go to now for marriage advice, for relationship advice, even though growing up, he was like, just go bang a bunch of girls, you know? But I remember being 16 years old, and we were at a football game, and we were at UNLV, like, and so we were there tailgating. And there was like these, you know, college girls, and Dad, I'm so sorry telling this story, but hey, this is a true story. And I was talking to these girls, and they'd been drinking, right? And I was 16, and these girls were probably 18, 19, right? Yeah. And so I'm like chatting these girls up, and I walked away, and like, I was talking to them, and then I like walked away, and my dad pulled me aside, and like, he was kind of like frustrated with me, because all his buddies were there, like all his SWAT buddies, they were living that, like, on the razor's edge, like going out, living that lifestyle, you know? He pulls me aside, he's like, son, what are you doing? Like, almost like embarrassed with me. I was like, oh, Dad, I realized they're drunk. They've been drinking. I didn't want to like take advantage of them. He's like, oh. And he gets like angry. He's like, son, what do you do before you play a soccer game? I was like, well, you practice. He's like, those girls are practice. Get back over there and make me proud. And I was like, yeah, all right. And then some random guy who we didn't even know, like, totally cock blocked me, man. He walked up and was like, hey, you know how old this kid is? I was like, dude, come on.
Yeah,
like,
come on.
So like, that was kind of what I grew up on, and like the way that my dad taught me like what it was to be a man. And now though, like, I call my dad, and we've talked about this a lot, and it's not just relationship, it's God, it's everything, because he's been like, yeah, son, you know, being a man, you could do that kind of stuff. He's like, that wasn't the right answer though. And he's like, and he's straight up been like, I apologize. I gave you bad advice. And I think that's another thing that we think as like kids, our parents have all the answers, but we're all still growing.
Totally.
And now though, like, he's the same way. He's like, son, you know what? You're having problems right now because you're not prioritizing your wife. You're letting, you know, and at this point I was like, you're letting this issue get in the way. You're letting this issue. It's like, you need to put her first. You need to do this. You need to do that. And then I was like, yep, you're right. And so like, I think that's something that we do tend to miss a lot for some reason, just because like the distractions, dude, the distractions of life. And then just, you know, you start chasing whatever's shiny, and you have an expectation and of what life should be. And then I think especially with marriage, is like, you kind of like almost look to someone to like make you happy. And that's just not the case. It's just never going to be the case that person can make you happy. It's just like, you have to be a happy person first. Yes. And then you have a partner who's along for the ride, and you're both chasing after this same goal. And it should be like, for us, we'll talk in our house, like, it's Team Montez. Like, as much as we may get on each other's nerves from time to time, at the end of the day, it's Team Montez. If we have to kill the rest of the world to keep Team Montez safe, that's what we're doing, you know? And I don't mean that we're threatening anybody, just making that clear, you know? But yeah, it's just the way that I think a lot of us miss that stuff.
Totally. Sure. I still like catch myself when Belle like signs a check or something of like, or on the phone, like Belle Gratton. It's like, she's not Belle Manley anymore. Like, we're starting our own legacy. Like, we're Grattons, and it's me and you, baby, till the end. And it's interesting with your dad, like, you grow up and they're your hero, can do no wrong. And then you start, meeting together, and you're like, whoa, you didn't have all the answers. You did the best you could. You did an amazing job, but that's, I guess, the best you can do is be open about your mistakes too. A lot of the times you learn more from your dad telling you what not to do than what to do, because they don't have all the answers, but
just admitting you're wrong.
Exactly. And I think that's being a man nowadays, is like, yes, be a monster, a good monster of like, I will not take no for an answer and will do whatever it takes to get what I want, but you don't have to be a dick about it. You don't have to be this piece of shit, racist, misogynistic dude.
Yep.
But that's, I think, being a man is just, my dad and me and Funston, my business partner, talk about this, like being a stay-at-home dad. Like, if that's what works, good for you, man. Like, you nailed it. But as a kid, I want both my dads in my life. They came home from a long day's work, were tired, beat up. But it's like, yes, my mom was always there, the nurturer, the great one. But just seeing your dad out there fighting every day and coming back, I think, is a good example to a kid, rather than your dad is, picking you up from soccer practice and playing video games with you. But to each their own. Like I said, if you found a woman that makes bank, good for you, man. You nailed it. But that ain't for me.
Yeah.
Like Jordan Peterson talks about it, like you have less time as a father with your kids, but it's more quality time. You're playing catch. You're teaching them about, like, I can't wait to have a kid with like a lemonade stand and like teaching them about marketing and running books and like treating it like a Fortune 500 business, and like, cool, we're going to do Facebook ads. We're going to geo-target this area. Like, you got to work, man. Like, make sure your costs are low, and supporting that. I just think, like, I never did that with my dad, but I'm just so excited to teach this little blank canvas who is me what not to do and what I would recommend. But if he doesn't want to do it, it's going to be hard. And I'm sure it's so frustrating of like, and it's funny talking to parents, like, getting into this stage of my life of like, they're like, yeah, you can see them going towards the cliff, but you're like, do I interject or do I let you fall on your face and teach you from that? And I think that's where parenting is hard, of like, yes, I want everything to be good and I want you to have a better life than me, but you're only here because you were there. And it's hard, like, have them do dangerous things safely, like crash on your bike, like wear a helmet, but climb that tree. And if you fall, that gravity sucks sometimes, but I don't know.
It's, and I'm curious too, from Josie's perspective, because I don't know where it's happened, and I'm, not going to put you on blast, but like you talk, you're single, you're dating, you see people, and sometimes, just the stories that you bring about what these young guys are acting like now, or just like little things. I'm not going to say any specifics, but like, it's just, I don't know, like, where do you see the caliber and quality of young men right now? And I guess from your perspective, like,
very interesting.
Where are young men missing it that, like, I don't know, just like we as guys are like, this is what I think a guy should be. Like, what are you seeing, or what are you thinking as far as like what's missing in the young men of today's world, I guess?
Jesus.
Very interested for this.
I'm curious. Yeah.
Here's the thing, and it's something I've talked to my dad about, because I don't want to outwork the person that I date, which is why I have a hard time finding a boyfriend or a partner, whatever. And I've dated before, and the first guy I dated was pretty successful, worked really, really hard. And I was just like, he was a lot older than me. I think I was like 20, he was 28. So he was quite a bit older than me. And then I just kind of had this realization of like, shit, like, I'm not there yet. And it was almost like I couldn't keep up with him, and so there was like a disconnect right there, right? Because the distance just kept getting bigger, because I was in a spot in my life where I didn't know what I wanted to do. I wanted to maybe have a little bit more fun, like just so many there was just a big distance there, whereas he was like actively working on his business, and now I feel like I'm where he was.
Yeah.
But I'm dating people who are where I was, but there's always going to be that disconnect of like I was seeing one kid where he like only works half the year, and it's just like, in my head, I don't get that because I'm like, I don't know if I want this.
I love how it's always funny. It's always funny when he's not going to see this. He don't care.
Probably
and by the time he does, it'll either have worked or won't have
Yeah.
worked. So who cares? But it's funny when she talks about like guys, she's like, I was dating this one kid. I'm like, if you're calling him a kid,
Yeah.
it's
That's
not
so
the right
true.
one.
No, I
you
feel
know?
like that's so
It's so
true.
true.
And me and Belle always talk about like, I'm so glad that we met organically.
Yeah.
Like, I feel bad for people dating now, like with the apps and the Tinders and all that. Like, it's not good for society, and you see it permeating like how superficial people are, or just like how they'll ghost you, or like the hookup culture. And I just feel bad of like, one day I can't wait for our kid to be like, how'd you guys meet? Well, like saw those long legs behind the bar and started slow playing it and just being cool and whatever. But I can't imagine dating nowadays.
I'm right
like
there.
me and Belle say, like, we can't get divorced because it sounds so brutal. Especially my age, like all the good ones are snatched up. Now you just have damaged goods of like they got kids, baby daddies, or there's a reason they're crazy. There's a reason that they're not hooked up. But I don't know. It's just, I think going back to like finding a good partner is so massive. Like that whole side of my life is solid. And now, like I always joke, like I want to hang out with dudes. Like I don't want to go out and where are the chicks at? It's like, no, I want a table, beers, and men that are older than me. Yeah, that we can talk business and life. And
you can go home to
That's
your
why I
wife.
try to get you to do some jujitsu, bro.
I know,
Come do
man.
some
I did the
jujitsu.
jujitsu. That guy still texts me every once in a while, like, "Yeah, doing a special." I'm like,
Just come
guess I'm
down.
just a pussy, bro.
man,
But
that's
I
really-
liked it a lot. It brought me back to wrestling, and now I'm like, it's fun. Like Belle's nephews are getting into wrestling, and I'm like, hell yeah. I think wrestling is good, and Lincoln should do jujitsu or wrestling or any of those single sports, because I always say, like, wrestling, if you win, it's all your fault, and if you lose, it's all your fault. You can't blame the quarterback or the O-line or your coach. Like, I was 3-time runner-up state champ, and I lost to the same guy 3 years in a row. Lane Penrod, if you're seeing this. That guy, if we were cavemen, he could take my cave and my woman and my meat, and like having just another guy beat you up or you beat him up, I think it gives a ton of confidence to a young boy or girl. It's cool how many girls are getting into wrestling. Like, I just think it's it sucks. Practices are hard, but when you beat another man in the oldest sport known to humans, you feel good. And when you lose, you're like, shit. Like, that guy could have killed me.
It's Justin Gaethje. If one man can hold you down,
Two can rape you, and I'll be damned if one guy's. Dude,
I
that's a
wasn't gonna
classic.
say the second part.
I always say that. Now we're officially Rogan Podcast.
Oh,
Yeah,
God.
Gaethje. If one guy can hold you down, two can rape you, and I'll be damned if one guy can hold me down.
All right. Well, this is fun. I don't care. You know what? Just sorry, guys.
That's classic.
This is normal talk. We're just having
Yeah.
fun with it. One thing too, though, that like when we're talking about just the culture, and we were talking about like we spent a lot of time talking about the role of like men in culture, and but I think that's something that's gotten off. But I think a lot of it too is like the way that women view themselves in culture too is changed, and you were kind of hitting on it as like this idea of, again, call me a traditionalist or whatever you want to be. I'm the same way you are, where it's like I would never say that, oh, a girl shouldn't do this. Or
Exactly.
No, if you should do in America whatever makes you happy,
Yes.
as long as you're not hurting someone or taking away from someone else, go live your life the way you want to live it. However, like I also think that it's something where girls sometimes want to be the dude now. Like they want to.
Whoa. I don't know if that's necessarily true. I think it's more about the fact of like where I'm at right now is I think maybe people would see me that way, but I feel very traditional.
But I don't think so, because when we talk, I'm
Yeah.
people like, you don't ever strike me as like I want to be the man of the house. You just strike me as a motivated woman
Yeah,
who's
you just
like,
have
But
high
I find
standards.
myself being the man in a relationship, and then I go, hold up, ew, I need to take a big step back, and that's where we were talking about, is like a lot of people would see me that way because they don't talk to me. But I am a very traditional person, but I've found myself multiple times in relationships where I'm like, holy fuck, I'm not your mom. Like, I'm going to take a fat step back because you're still a kid and I'm outworking you. I don't want to be in this position, but it's hard to find men that are like taking on like that role,
Yeah.
in my opinion, because they just don't do it. Like, guys are just
I think
not
that's
men
good.
anymore.
Like, you strike me as a girl who knows what you're worth. You're a good girl. You got a good head on your shoulders. You just have high standards.
Well, and it's like my
I think-
sister's traditional too, and it's like it's something that I've always wanted, and we've talked about it so much. But I'm like, I'm not just gonna sit on my ass and wait because the way that I grew up in a very traditional like culture too, to where a lot of these girls, they live to get married. Okay, that's the first thing they do, and then they're like, damn, why am I unhappy?
Exactly.
But then I also have this other culture of like, there are girls definitely that are like, no, like I'm not gonna let anybody tell me what to do.
Yeah.
But it's like, it's this balance of like, you can't just sit on your ass and wait for somebody to come scoop you up, because then you ignore certain things of like, well, do you actually like this person? Do you actually like spending time with them? And so I want the option to be like, okay, I'm not marrying this person for money. I'm marrying this person because I genuinely like them. But the issue is if you have a good work ethic, then you also want someone with a work ethic.
Exactly.
And it's like, I have this rule. It's like, my standards are very high for most people, but not for me, because I can do it. So if I can do it, I can expect somebody else. If I can go to the gym, I can expect somebody else to go to the gym.
Yeah.
If I can work 365 days of the year or have a full-time job, I can expect somebody else to.
Totally.
But if I'm overweight, I'm not going to sit here and be like, well, I'm only going to date someone that's 6'5" and D1 athlete. Like,
And
that's not
That's
realistic.
what I was going to say, is I think there's this disconnect. Like, you see that stat of like how many guys in America are over 6 feet, make $500,000 a year. Like, it's minuscule.
Yeah.
And then these girls are, it's always interesting, and this is pretty aggressive, but it's like women, I think, and this isn't me, I'm quoting this clip I saw, but like women are in their prime in like 20 to 25. Like, that's when they're most desirable. Men aren't in their prime until they're in their 40s. Like 45, they've finally been successful, they have some money. And so there's this disconnect of when you're a young college kid and you're the hottest chick at the bar, you have your pick of the litter, and you're not giving that guy, and I'm not saying you are, this girl in this story is not giving the time of day to a guy who's, maybe he is grinding and he's working under Rob, or he's loading beer trucks at night and he's building a business on the side and he's hustling, but shit, he's making $50,000 a year and drinking PBR. But then you got this trustafarian kid who's buying the hot chick Patron shots. She's going to be attracted to him, but that guy's a piece of shit because he didn't earn any of his stuff. He's got daddy's money. And now all of a sudden that girl maybe hooks up with that guy, has a kid, but now the guy that she wasn't given the time to is now 40, has multiple businesses, crushing. She hits him up on Facebook, hey, miss you so much. And he's like, yeah, right, dude. I found a good one who was with me at the shitty time. And now she's like, well, you're just a dick.
Well,
like, blah, 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 blah. And I just think that in our culture, and going back to like the woke and masculinity, like these guys have been talked down to of like, you're a piece of crap and all this and all that. And then the standards are just missed. And I don't know, it's a very aggressive way to look at it, but it kind of makes sense of just like, then you're like, why would that 50-year-old guy dating a 21-year-old? And it's like, because he can.
He's a Missoula 10.
Exactly, yeah. And it's like, because he can, and he's the cream of the crop now, where at that bottom level, when you're just a dirtbag like me, it's like, I was lucky that Bell Babe saw the potential in me.
What do you see as far as picking up on what he's saying? Like, because I mean, again, I've been with Katie for years now. Like, I never was on Tinder. I missed all that. I'm very happy like with where we're at. But like, what is the typical age gap that girls are dating guys now at? I have no idea even.
I have no idea. But I think like even with what you were talking about, I was talking with my dad about that, and I was like, well, I can appreciate the way that I was raised. I can appreciate the way that my dad treats my mom. But he's like, but I wasn't that way when we got together. And so I guess like, I'm not like, I don't think a lot of girls are really necessarily expecting a ton. I think there's always two sides, right? You have the girl that's like, I think this guy has a lot of potential. Like for me, I tend to give people the benefit of the doubt more often than not. I've dated a cokehead. It's like, oh, but he could be so good. And it's like, but then you just get shit on.
Yeah.
You know?
I can fix him.
Or I can fix him. Or he doesn't have a job right now, but like he talks a lot about like all this other kind of stuff. So like maybe, or, you know, and it's like, where is this balance between giving people the benefit of the doubt and like being with them, because of course like you want someone to be there for you and be ride or die.
Yeah.
I think a
But
lot
it's
of
like,
it is,
who deserves that?
well, I think it's going back to where we kind of started this, is like being your authentic self. And also too, I think a lot of people miss is like, are you consistently working on getting better? And do you have a spouse or a partner who's doing the same? Because where I see people get themselves into trouble is that you may both start here, but if you have one person who is consistently day in, day out, self-developing, working at getting better, being the best version of themselves, and then you have someone who is just not, and they're not really putting in that same effort.
Outgrow them.
Yeah, it's exactly it. It's not that you're even growing apart. It's just that it's not that you're growing apart. It's just one person didn't move with you. And I think that's, again, such an important part of, if we bring it all back to talking about how this influences your life choices, how it influences the amount of money you make and just the happiness level and where you're at, is like finding someone who's also growing. And like, using Katie as an example, she's after it. Like, we have a very traditional household, and that she knows that right now, if she was like, I'm not working anymore.
Yeah.
Roger that. Okay,
Exactly.
cool. That's fine. And we'll make this work because it's my responsibility. Now, with that said, she also knows if she ever goes that route, then it's like the house, she's going to take care of it completely. The bills, she's going to take care of, like all the activities. And she does a lot of that stuff already too. So thanks, babe. Love you. But it's one of those things where she's also like working on being a better version of herself. And like Katie to me today is hotter than she's ever been. Like we even talk about it because like, we see photos of when we were both young, had no money, wearing shitty clothes, couldn't do anything to like accentuate stuff. And like, we just look like kids,
Yeah.
And now, like, another thing that I've talked about, and I was just talking with a gal who came into our office recently because she was almost 50, in great shape, awesome, taking care of herself. And it's like 50 today isn't like 50 it was, 20, 30 years ago. But it's also because like people... if you're looking good and doing well after 40, to me, that shows that's a lifestyle choice.
Yeah.
That is a series of consistent choices
years ago.
day in and day out to get you to where you're at now. Because you're right. Like, I remember being a young broke kid in the Army where I was like, had no money, nothing. And you're just like, well, I've got some great stories.
Yeah.
But that's about all I have.
That's about it. Yeah.
But now it's like, as you get further in life and, heaven forbid something happens to Katie, like, I don't want to ever go that route. I'm very happy with where we're at. But it is something where it's like, Robert now is only getting better. Like this version of me, like every day I'm like, man, I'm only getting better. I'm only going to make more money. I'm only going to get better at all the hobbies I love. I'm only going to learn how to be a better dad. I'm only going to improve. And so it's exciting to me because like, I'm not trying to be like, oh, I have to stay young forever. Like, I'm cool with getting older. I'm cool with understanding there will be limits. Also, I'm on TRT, so that helps a ton. Let's go. But like, it's something to look forward to of just like, I don't know, just consistently getting better, but having a spouse who's also doing the same, I think is a lot,
Totally.
So,
and it's funny you mentioned like you're more attracted to Katie. It's like Belle Babe's pregnant as could be and is just like, ugh, like I'm so gross. Thanks for loving me. I'm like, I've never been more attracted to her. Like big old belly. I'm like, that's my kid in there.
Yeah.
And like every stretch mark or scar or whatever, I did that with Belle.
Yeah.
And like, I just think we always joke, like, I can't wait to be old as hell, just like hanging with Belle Babe and our kids are off and maybe they don't call as much, but it's like, remember when? Like, I just love telling stories, man. And life's a big, long story and it's awesome.
I think too, like with your parents, like it's, I'm glad you brought that up because like, again, if we're talking about, I always hope that this podcast is something that as people listen to, they're like, you know what, I'm going to do better in this area of my life, or I can pay attention to this, or I can improve. But like, I think that like, it means so much. It's funny seeing my relationship with my dad now with Lincoln, where he's at, because Lincoln's old enough. He's only 8, but like, I see a lot of things. I'm like, oh, okay, that's how that works now. And, and I do. I think about him like going off and like leaving our house eventually and like, oh man, I'm going to miss that little dude. And so I do. I try and like give my dad a call just like to touch base or send him a text. Hey, old man, thinking about you. Hope you haven't died yet. Like just stuff like that,
Totally.
Like, but like, it is where I'll do that. And then he'll like, sometimes I'll send him a text and he'll call me like 60 seconds later. He's like, what's up? Like, hey dad, what's up? And he's like, oh, no, we just talking. He's like, son, it makes my day. I love hearing from you. He's like, it always makes me so happy. And then you see people where that's not the case they have with their parents. And that's like, if someone said, I want to put Robert in hell, it would be that my kids wanted nothing to do with me. Like they were indifferent to me. Not even that they didn't like me, because like people say, oh, opposite of love is hate. No, I think it's indifference.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
If you, like my enemies out there, want to destroy Robert, make my kids indifferent towards me, where they just want nothing to do with me, because I don't understand that from a man's perspective. Like if we're talking about like what it means to be a successful man, dude, again, I say God bless America all the time, but on this one, no, dude, be involved in your kid's life.
Yeah.
Like, don't be a shitbag. Don't abandon your son, your daughter, because like when we look at, I think so much of the way that America goes right versus the way that America goes wrong. I think a lot of America goes wrong when dads aren't there. When dads aren't
100%,
dads,
man.
It's like kids turn into shitheads. Kids get into trouble. Kids don't listen and respect things. Even when, was it one of you guys were talking about? Oh yeah, I think it was you. You were talking about like teaching your kid to hold open a door for someone.
Yeah.
Like people don't do that stuff. And like with Lincoln, I'm like, son, go hold that door for them.
Exactly.
And I think like people are surprised by it, that like a young little boy is doing that, and it's the right answer though, you know? And so I would say, again, if like people are out there looking at like, how can I make my life better? Like, dude, find a way to be a great spouse to your spouse, and then a great dad to your kids, and be involved in like what you're talking about too, man. I agree so much. It doesn't mean that you're there for every little thing, because you're right. I'm there a lot less than Katie.
Yeah.
But like when I'm there, it's like we're there. We're having a great time, and we're doing boy stuff. And like this year is going to be the first year where like, because I didn't grow up in Montana. I grew up in a big city. I didn't grow up hiking, didn't grow up camping, didn't grow up like shooting guns, didn't grow up doing a lot of that. I grew up in LA, I grew up skateboarding, I grew up, I had a great childhood. I grew up going to the beach a lot, I grew up skiing. But like I look at the mountains all the time, like, dude, we're going out there. And so like that's something with Lincoln. Like we've been working and like getting all of our stuff. I don't even know how many thousands of dollars, I'm sorry, Katie, that I've spent on camping stuff. Buy once, cry once, you know?
Oh yeah.
But I want him out there doing hard things, but that are fun, because like, that is really kind of like, I look at my life long term. Like I hope I get to live a long life. I hope so. But I also understand like, hey, if not, I want him to have lessons of like, okay, well, dad was there. Dad taught me this. But I keep thinking about like, man, I may never like hit all my huge goals. I have some really big ones, but like how much, if I can set a foundation that then it's not giving things to people, but like just giving them like, this is the way, and this is where we start, and this is the resources to do the best that you want to do at whatever's most important to you. Like that's what I think is kind of like something I think people should be more focused on, is like, okay, legacy, not for like, oh, legacy for legacy, but like people are going to forget you. Who cares? Like no one's going to remember you. I think
2
it's
generations.
Selfish. Yeah, it's selfish. Like to think that like of all the people out there, it's like if I really asked you to tell me something about most people in history, like you could use like Marcus Daly, all right, or actually you could use like Andrew Carnegie, all right?
Yeah.
Love him, hate him. I know there's some controversy out there, all right? Yeah. But like if you looked at him at one point in time, I think he was the second richest man in the world. Yeah. If I asked anybody just walking around, tell me about Andrew Carnegie and what he did and how he made his money, most people are like, no, I don't know, never.
He's that rich guy, right?
Yeah, he's a rich guy. I was like, and so who cares? Like your story's going to come and go. But like, I just think like, okay, well, what can we do for our next generation? Like, what can I do for my children specifically, and hopefully, God willing, my grandkids, and just like, to me, that's what kind of like success is. It's not like, oh, I have all this money. It's like, no, we have a good life. We have freedom. No one can put their thumb on me, and we can enjoy stuff, Yeah,
I'd say call your parents, man. If anyone's listening. I'm a mama's boy. Call my mom probably every other day.
That's nice.
And she always is like, you're the one kid that calls the most, like they all call, but she's like, you are my monkey baby. She's called me because I was so hairy and just hung on to her. But she's just, I am my mama's boy. Like I love my mom. And I'll call Frankie. And like you were kind of saying with your dad, like have those raw conversations of even memories. Like I'll call Frankie and just be like, yeah, remember when we were running on the side of the road in Midland, Texas, and I had to jump over that dead deer and I thought I was going to die. And he just howls laughing and he's like, oh, those were good days. Like, I think as being an older parent and now grandparent, like you don't have much going on. And like, I know like my mom, that is like the highlight of her day of like, what's going on with work? How's Belle? Like, what are you working on? What are you doing? Like, I think as a patriarch and matriarch of a family, like what did we do all that work for?
Yeah.
And I tell Frankie, like thanks for doing the allowance thing, dude. Like, I had money in my shoebox that I invested in my IRA 10 years after that, but it all started with like those little things. And I just know as like an old guy, you're like, hell yeah. Like it registered, he remembered it, and he's doing well. Like, Frankie's just like, I love hearing you become successful and like not doing the bad things I did, or, you know, doing the things that I did that were important. And I just think everyone should just reach out to their parents, say, thanks so much, tell a story from an old camping trip or a vacation, because that's why you do all of it.
Well, and as we kind of like, I know we've been going for a while. I mean, we've been going for close to 2.5 hours. Like, what do you think, like, for you as you're looking forward, Zach? Because you're at that spot in life where you're still a young man. You know, your family's just growing. I'm so excited for you and Belle. Like, I'm excited to see you having as much success as you are. Like, for Zach Gratton, if he, you know, Lord willing, gets to be 100 years old and is looking back and he's looking at his life, what do you feel like you're hoping you accomplish? What makes Zach Gratton successful, and how do you see that?
Damn, that's a big question. I mean, it's kind of break it up like crazy goals. Like, yeah, I want to own a lot of the city, like the Wilma or the
slumlord of Missoula.
Exactly. I used to say that, shelter provider now. But yeah, I want to be like, yeah, that's the Gratton building or something. But that's, you know, vanity and selfishly. I think what I would be pumped on is people sitting around talking, telling stories of like, yeah, and Zach, remember Zach? Like, God, that was hilarious. Or he helped me out so big. Like, he pulled up in the middle of the night and got me out of the ditch. Or, you know, I was getting kicked out of my house and he helped me move. Or just that stuff, I think, is so important to me. Like, truly, like, give the shirt off your back. Like, Zach was such a ride or die friend that, and I think those things are way more attainable, and just the longevity of those. Like, that's how the legacy I want is. Like, I mean, it's cool going around town, like, people, hey, it's Zach Gratton. Are you Scott's kid? I love Scotty. Like, oh, that's blah, blah, blah. I'm like, yes, I love being Scotty's son, and I can't wait for my kid or daughter to be like, are you Zach's kid? And they're like, yeah. And they're like, oh my gosh, he helped me out so much. Or he was just the, like, life of the party and, like, did so much. He helped us out with a charity or something. I mean, that's my big goal with finances is Frankie's very charitable, and I just want to get to a place where I can be like that and make differences. And it sounds, you know, whatever and blah, blah, blah. But I'm a very charitable guy. I believe in it. And I always joke, like, that's why we work so hard. Like, help people out. And granted, you got to make sure your stuff is dialed before you're giving it all away. But yeah, at the end of the day, like, why are we grinding so hard? It's just to make it life better for everybody else, you know? And, like, donate to charities. Give a guy who you believe in, who has an idea, who just needs that zeitgeist of, like, yeah, I just need like 20 grand to lease this space and I have this business and blah, blah, blah. It's like, cool, I'll partner with you, man. Like, boom. And yeah, maybe I'm smoking my money away, but if it works, that was influential in that guy. And now he has a legacy that he can provide for his kids. And he's like, Zach helped me out, start this, because he trusted me and I was good to him. He was good to me. And I don't know, I think that's the legacy I want is you can count on me, you can call me, and I'm with you.
What do you, like, I guess just something I'm curious to see, because you've mentioned like God and spirituality and stuff like that. Like, what are your thoughts on, like, on death? Do you think about it often? Yeah,
I think it's interesting. And I grew up religious. It was never like forced on us. We were non-denominational. We always call it the Megadome in Billings Faith Chapel. It's like this huge church. But when we started going there, it was tiny. But it's so funny because Belle Babe's Catholic, went to Catholic school. And I remember I took her to the Christmas service in Billings. And they got like angels on zip lines flying and smoke machines and full electric guitar solo. And she's like, this ain't Catholic church. I'm like, yeah, pretty sweet, huh? But I think religion as a whole I think it comes down to your relationship between you and God. I don't think he's going to come down and go, yep, Episcopalians were right. He knows at the end of the day, do you have faith in him? Do you believe Jesus died for your sins? And are you trying to be a representation of what he is? I'm not going to be in your face and say, like this and that. I'm the same with you. God bless America. Are you a good person? I want people to be like, Zach's a good guy. Maybe it's because he believes in God, or it is because he believes in God. But I think that's my religion is man-made. Spirituality is between you and God. We're flawed. I think that's why you see these issues with priests taking advantage of kids or money laundering or any of that. It's because we're flawed, and that's what the devil wants. I think God, this is church to me, of like seeing your ideas and like taking things from different, religions of, like I was baptized Mormon for a girl, didn't mention that, in high school.
For a girl?
Yeah,
Jesus.
It was crazy. It was a weird thing.
One heck of a girl.
Yeah, dude. She was a babe. She was an heir. It was this series of unfortunate events where my freshman year, I got in a fight with this kid who was a bully. And it's actually a good story. So 7th grade, he would talk shit to me. I'd talk shit back, whatever. 8th grade, I was like, cool, I'm going to ignore this guy, whatever. Freshman year, we're now in a new school, and he's just chirping. And I'd never been in a fight before. And in Billings, it was so overcrowded that half the day you had to bus downtown to the Lincoln Center and do school halfway there. And we're riding the bus back, and he's right behind me just chirping at me. And I text my dad, and that was the year I quit wrestling. And I was like, I'm going to punch this kid. And his only response was, should have wrestled. So I'm like, all right, green light. I don't end up punching him, but that night I'm talking to my brothers, and they're like, yeah, dude, beat his ass. Pops comes out, goes, I'm going to go on record, you never get in a fight. If you're in a fight, you go 150% through their throat and make sure you win. So in my mind, I'm like, well, you said the wrestle thing. I'm fighting this kid tomorrow. So I'm sitting there at lunch, and I told Chris, I'm like, dude, if you don't stop talking, I'm going to F you up. And he's like, oh, Zach wants to fuck me, like he's gay and all this. I'm like, perfect. So lunch comes around, he's with all his cronies. All my buddies were Lincoln Center in the morning, and I was afternoon, so I had no backup. And he's coming down the hall, and he's a big dude, way bigger than me. And I was like, Chris, I told you it was going to happen if you keep talking shit. He's like, oh, you're not going to do anything. And I was like, my dad told me to knock you out, which they eventually ended up trying to sue my dad for like child negligence or whatever. So I push him, and he's like, what are you going to do? And I hit him one time right in the mouth, and he had braces, and I broke his jaw right here, and it ripped. I remember he like fell back, and he was like, ah, and his whole top teeth just fell down. And I was like, oh shit. And I still got the scar. He's crumpled up, all his friends run away. A teacher comes around the corner, and she's like, what just happened? And my hand's just gushing blood. And I was like, I just punched this kid. And she's like, come with me. Go to the principal's office. The teacher, since I was playing varsity, was like, Chris, what did you do to make Zach hit you? His family ended up trying to sue the school for like preferential treatment because I was a sports guy. And all these things got dismissed, but I got kicked out of school for a week. And I remember my dad picked me up, and he's like, you're so effed. And I'm like, ah. He's like, did you knock him down? And I'm like, yeah. He's like, did people see it? And I was like, yeah. He's like, good. You're so effed. So I'm kicked out of school for a week. I come back. I'm the man for like half a day. People are like, Zach's got a mean right hand. He knocked out Chris. All this, blah, 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 blah. SRO officer comes into my class. He's like, you got to lawyer up. Chris is pressing felony assault charges.
Jesus.
And I'm like, holy cow. And I remember talking to my dad, and I was like, it's kind of cool being a felon. Like, I'm like 50 Cent. And he's like, are you an idiot? Do you want any job ever? Like, this is bad. Because he had to get like emergency reconstructive surgery and like plastic surgery and all this. And his family just threw the book at us. I ended up getting like the #1 criminal defense lawyer in like Montana because he owed Pops a favor. I ended up settling I owed him $10,000 restitution. I was on house arrest for 6 months and then probation till I was 18. So I remember Dad being like, dude, if you get a speeding ticket, like it goes from a misdemeanor to a felony, like you're screwed. And I remember we're sitting out in Quiznos after court, and I'm with my mom, and she's like, well, you owe $10,000. What are you going to do? I'm 14. And I'm like, I guess get a job. And she's like, well, Quiznos is hiring. So I'm like, shoot. So I walk up, shake the manager's hand. He's like, cool, you start at 4. And I ended up managing that place at like 16, worked my ass off. I was top 200 in Halo in the world because all my buddies would go out. And it was probably a blessing because I didn't drink at all in high school. All my buddies were partying and I would just have a couple energy drinks and play video games all night. And I got like recruited by all these professional teams, but I was like, no, I'm not a nerd. Like I'm still playing college football. And so then it was a weird thing where I meet this girl who's a Mormon from Arizona. And I'm like, yeah.
I totally forgot why we were even talking about
exactly,
this. The girl,
yeah.
the Mormon girl.
The weave, baby, the weave.
Yeah,
so
weave,
yeah,
the
so
weave.
it blended into it because I'm like, obviously I'm not Mormon. Like I love a good time. But at that time I was like, no, I don't want to party and all this. And she was beautiful. And we were like scheduled to, I was baptized Mormon. My mom showed up I would sneak away. I'd be like, I'm going to a buddy's house and I'd meet the missionaries and they were just selling me hard on it. The one guy was like, dude, I play college football. Like you can go to parties, just don't drink. I'm like, perfect. I don't drink. And all of a sudden I get baptized. My mom shows up in an all black veil with 2 of my good buddies. And she's just like, what the hell are you doing? And so that was my senior year of high school. I had her for prom. I moved to the Grizz. I'm still Mormon my freshman year of college. Like dorms are open, girls are coming by, and they're like, hey, you want to go to a party? I'm like, no, I got a Skype date at 7 p.m. on a Friday with my girlfriend. Get away. And finally, I started growing my hair out. And
It's the first step.
Yes. So this girl's like...
The longer your hair, the closer to Satan.
Exactly. And that's what it was. And I was like, if you were a white guy from Montana, you grow your hair out if you're playing football. And she was like, ooh, we don't really do that in the church. And I'm like, well, Jesus had long hair. And she's like, yeah, but it's associated with drugs. And like, I didn't do drugs. So I'm like, well, you know me. We get in like a breakup. And then I was sitting there in my dorm room like, shit, I am only Mormon when I'm with her. Like, I don't truly believe in it. And there were good things. Like, they're the #1 most charitable organization in the world. They're big on family. Like, that resonated with me. But the devil was in the details. And we ended up, she was like, no, you're a good guy. I don't care. Grow your hair out. But then I was like, I got to make this call and be like, I can't be Mormon. And wrecked her because she was like fundamentalist, like Mormon. And that was her ticket to heaven, was get married. And
you ruined it.
Exactly. I ruined it. And then, just went on a tear then after that and just partying. And I've always been a godly man.
It's crazy how, like, again, dads can save the day, though. Mm-hmm. Like when you're talking about this guy owing a favor to your dad.
Yeah.
You know, like.
And that goes back to the relationships. Who do you call? Hey, dude, he's an insurance defense lawyer. My dad, he's like, I don't know how to do this.
Yeah.
My son's facing criminal felony assault charges. I know this guy, and he knows me, and he's going to help me out.
What ended up happening with that guy that you punched the face? You ever talk to him again, or?
Dude, I saw him at a Modest Mouse concert in Missoula. This must have been 12 years ago. But I remember I looked back, and he was like 3 people back. And I remember I just like winked at him. And we made eye contact, and that was my only interaction with him.
That would be so crazy just to like sit down and like hear.
Dude, I would love.
Was it so worth it, or no?
It was. If I could redo it, I would have hit him with my left hand. I guess I didn't know I was packing a punch, and then in Mo Club, like bartending, I was getting in fights twice a night forever. Me and Funston, but that was my first thing, and I'd love to run into him and show him that I'm way different. I mean, he was like. Not a nerdy kid. What did he not
like about you?
He hated that I was a jock or whatever. Like, I remember in court, they were like, why did you talk so much crap to Zach? And he was like, well, I was picked on growing up by the jocks, so I just decided one day that I'm going to pick on him. And I was like, fair, but like, I was a bully to the bullies, but I would never, like, maybe I got looped into that if you asked people from high school, but I never liked giving people a hard time. I'd make fun of it. If you're making fun of a kid because he's poor or something, I'm going to make fun of you then. But I would love to like meet him at a bar just dressed as I am now and be like, what's up, man? Like,
we should invite him on the podcast, bro.
Yeah, I know.
Dude, come on.
Like, what was going through your head? How bad did it hurt? Do you regret it? And like, what are you doing now?
Yeah.
Like, maybe he's like, selling insurance, and we could be like, cool.
He's like an
got
orthodontist who
guy.
just like fixes people's
exactly.
grill.
Maybe he's like the
seen what it
number
is.
one orthodontist.
Yeah. Oral surgeon.
Yeah,
dude,
but
as we like I gotta tell us, I might have told this story before, but like again, Dad's coming to save the day. And Dad, I will always thank you for this, because like this is a point in my life where it could have zigged instead of zagged. So I got pulled over when I was 18 years old. Did I tell this story before? All right. Anyways,
I've never heard it.
So I got pulled over. I was, my dad was out at work. My dad was a police officer in Vegas on the SWAT team. So he was always working late at night.
Yeah.
And so his wife, who he's married to now, they weren't married yet. They were still dating. And I was like, hey, Ida, I'm going to go out and I'm going to go meet up with this girl. And I don't know why. She's like, oh, great. And I think she was just still trying to like be cool to me.
Be the cool stepmom,
She's like, why don't you take your dad's car? And so like, it wasn't even a crazy car, but it was like a Nissan Maxima, and it was like the top tier one. And it was just like, for me, it was a fast car.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, that's a great idea.
Yeah.
So I took his car out, and I'm in Vegas, and the highways there are just like super straight over on like the northwest side of town. And I am maxed out in this car doing like 120. And I just, whatever it was maxed out on, that's how fast I'm driving. And
as you should at 18.
Yeah, and it's late. There's no one on the road. But, you know, like I'm not swerving in and out, but like, you know, I'm moving past people. And so I get off the exit. I'm e-braking my turns. I'm having so much fun.
Yeah.
I'm like driving like I stole this car, right? And the only thing that stopped me was I couldn't remember where this girl lived. And so I pull up to a stop sign, and I'm like, oh, is she left, right? Do I go straight? And I go to text her. I'm at the stop sign. I just see this like SUV cop car come swerving around, lights on. And I'm like, I am so screwed. And I swear to you, my first thought was like, I can outrun him. And I was about to go for it, dude. I was like, I could do this. I was like, no, don't do this. So like I pull over, and I'm just like, okay, I got pulled over, whatever. Dude, full felony stop, like weapon drawn, hands out the car. And I'm like, oh crap. And like, as I'm doing this, he's like, throw the keys out. And I'm like, okay, I throw the keys out. I'm like, officer, my dad's a cop. And he's like, that's not going to help you tonight, son.
Yeah.
And I was like, I am effed. Like, oh no.
Damn.
And so full felony stops, makes me get out, hands on the vehicles, calling it in. And I look over, and he has a SWAT uniform on. And I'm like, officer, I think you might know my dad. His name's Bob Montez. And he goes, hold one. Oh, so you're Bob's boy, huh?
Yeah. He's like, perfect. I can give your dad shit for the
he
rest of his career.
He's like, why don't we give daddy a call? And he calls my dad up. And I remember, because my dad and I have talked about this. He's like, yeah, I remember. He goes, yeah, dad, or, yeah, Bob, guess what I've got here? And my dad, I didn't know what he said, but he's told me, he's like, I don't know, who, the Pope? And he's like, no, it's your boy. Yeah, he was speeding. About 120. Oh, yeah. He's like, he wants to talk to you. He's like,
and you're like,
I was
please,
like, oh, no. And he's like, I was talking to my dad. And my dad's like, get home now, right? He's like, yes, dad. And then he gives the phone back. He's like, you're going to love this, Bob. Guess whose car he's driving? It's like, no, why did you have to do this?
Gosh.
And so like, yeah, he's telling that. And I was like, oh, I am so screwed. And like, so he like is like, all right, you get home, blah, blah, blah. It sucks to be you. This guy leaves, and I go, and I cannot like find the keys. Dude, he picked the keys up and he drove off with them, and he didn't realize he forgot to give them back. So like, now I have to call my dad back. I'm like, Dad, I know you're mad. He took the keys. I can't go home. He's like, hold up. And so the guy comes back, and then he ends up being like super cool. He's like, bro, you could have killed yourself. Like, you're really lucky to be okay. You're really lucky that you're not going to jail tonight. Like, this is a felony stop. You should be going to jail. He's like, go home, dude. And so I go home. Next morning, my dad is just like sitting there, like reading his newspaper. I'm getting my cereal. He doesn't say a thing to me. And I'm just like, oh man. And so finally I'm just like sitting there trying to play it cool, and I just can't take it anymore. I'm like, are we going to talk about this? Like, funny you should bring it up, you know? And, and then he just ended up being like, basically is like, just don't drive like that. Don't be an idiot. And this is, again, me talking to him as an adult now. I was like, Dad, why didn't you punish me? He's like, son, you never did anything wrong. He's like, you never got any trouble. You were always home when you said you were going to be home. I gave you a lot of freedom because you never violated. And it's like, and then he's like, I was so angry. But then I remembered, it's like, you were still just a kid.
Yeah.
Every kid's going to mess up.
When
and so
I was 18,
but it was one of those things where I look at that as like, if it weren't for my dad, and like, again, if people want to talk about privilege, again, have a dad. Have a dad who does good shit.
Have a dad who does good stuff, who's a good guy.
Yeah, because again, going back to what you talked about with like relationships and reputation, the way you describe your dad is the way that my dad is in Vegas, where he's like, everyone knows him. Like, it just always was the guy. And that kept me from going to jail. And like, probably, I don't think I would have gotten a felony. I probably would have got it, same thing, parole and probation or something like that. But it's just like, man, I'm so glad this worked out the way that it did, because good lesson learned, and fun.
Same here. I mean, that's what I always say is like, yeah, maybe I would have got an MIP and lost my football scholarship. Then I never leave Billings. I never meet Bell. Like, it's just crazy how one little thing. And yeah, like I worked 2 jobs through high school because I had that big bill to pay. And then now I'm buying my own car cash. And like, it just set me up for like, yeah, dude, you can't just be a high school kid that plays video games all day. I mean, even though I did, but
nowadays, maybe.
Yeah, I worked all day. Like, I had my own money and like my own car and paid for my own phone and all that. And it's like, you see my other buddies who were just given everything, and then now they're getting that start at 22 when they have rent and all that, where it's like, no, I was living at home and was compounding, saving money for whatever. But yeah, it's a big origin story of a zig or zag. Like, if I would have gone wrong really bad, but maybe if it never would have happened, I never, I get in trouble some other way. Like, I was a straight and narrow, straight edge, work, church, and home guy, because I was facing down the barrel of that. But
well, and as we're kind of getting to the end, what I want to do, man, is just take a second too to like, because I really hope that these podcasts help people find great people. And I think that, of course I'm going to be biased, and I'm always going to send people to my wife first. But like, I would, if it weren't for Katie and I had to send business to someone, it would be you, man. Like, I've always respected the way you work.
Appreciate that.
I love the type of person you are. I love your authenticity. And I know you've also, you've done a lot, a lot more than a lot of realtors I've seen in the commercial space, which is something where if people are looking for that here in Missoula, I know you have quite a bit of experience. And but if you want to just maybe take a sec as we wrap up to let people know if they wanted to connect with you, and maybe they're looking to buy or sell in Missoula and they think you're the type of person they want to work with, how could they find you? How could they connect?
Totally. So yeah, I mean, it's been a funny podcast of just like, I feel like we've talked nothing about financial advising or real estate.
This
but
is the way it's supposed to go, man.
Exactly. It's so much better than being like, yeah. But yeah, I'm Zach. We're with the Gratton Funston Group and the ERA Lambros, biggest brokerage in town. Me and Chris, my business partner, I am cocky with how good we are at our job. We're always playing the long game. Reputation's everything. We always joke we talk more people out of buying or selling than into it, because we're not salesmen. We're facilitators that will advise you on the best decision. If that's what you want to do, we'll go full force towards your goals. But GFG Real Estate, Gratton Funston Group, gfgrealestate.com. Give us a call. We love Missoula. It's easy to sell Missoula. I believe in it. As the worse the world gets, the more attractive Missoula gets, as we saw in COVID. I just don't think you'll ever go wrong buying and selling in Missoula.
Yeah, man. Well, I appreciate you being on. Any socials or anything that people should be following?
At GFG Real Estate is our Instagram. It's funny, like we were kind of talking about, of just starting out, it was Zach and Chris, and we were doing funny videos and memes and just being ourselves, and people really responded to it. And then we got kind of big for our britches, started doing a bunch of business and started to be a little more professional. And now we're getting back to our roots, man, of just being Montana guys. Yep. We're a good time. So it's going to be a better Instagram page. But
the video that I always think of you, dude, I will never forget, is when it was winter and you stopped to help someone get their car out of a ditch.
Hell yeah, that was a good one.
That to me was like, this is what the internet should be. And just, it was nothing to do with business.
Yeah.
It was just like, this is what Montana is supposed to be like.
Hell yeah.
Man,
yeah, it's a funny video.
I remember that, and I remember seeing that, and I'm not like, I'm doing more social now because of all this stuff, but like, I remember seeing that video thinking, this is a good person. This is the type of person I want to work with, and this is the type of community I want to have. And it's a place where people stop to help their neighbor and are willing to just realize, hey, I'm not the center of the universe. Like,
right.
Everyone else has their own shit going
together.
on, And so if we could just take some time to remember that, to help people out, if the world just did a little bit more of that, man, I think we'd be a lot further along. But
and Robbo, great financial advisor. I've never felt like just a number. You check in, you ask how my wife's doing, how I'm doing. It's not just, update your portfolio, see you in a quarter. So you guys are doing great work here. Encourage everyone. I mean, you helped me out. I wasn't a whale at all when you got me. It was, just a little IRA and a conservative growth fund of about $100 a month. But it's crazy looking at my accounts now that time and patience and having the right plan.
You're working hard, bro. You're working hard. So, man, well, thank you so much, Zach. I'm sure we'll do this again. I appreciate you coming out. And then just as we wrap up, Josie, let's go ahead and tell people how they can connect with us, just like we do on every episode, but go ahead.
Yeah, so we always have our website, so feel free to reach out on there. My personal email is josie@nexuswealthmanagement.org, and then linked below the podcast, I think, will be all the
socials. And if you guys want to see other episodes, shoot, now I'm doing a Josie and I forgot the episode.
I never remember my own email.
But website, Let's Talk Wealth. Let's Talk Wealth Podcast.com is all the episodes. There's links there wherever you're watching this on. There's links to watch it on everything, whether you for YouTube or Spotify, Apple, all that. Our website, nexuswealthmanagement.org. Come check us out. We appreciate you guys and hope you guys are enjoying these episodes. So thank you so much. And Zach, thanks for doing this, buddy.
Right on. Thanks,
guys.
everybody.
Thank you. Have a good one. All right.